Hey everybody, it's me, Andy.
And I'm Sean.
And this is the Commander's Brew.
M20 set review.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's the big M20 set review here on Commander's Brew. Sean Tabaris is here with me. My cat is sitting over there. I've got my large Undertaker Slurpee cup of water. We're ready to go.
Oh yeah, my cup is a glass sponsored by Molson Canadian.
Oh, nice. Very good. This is like maybe a 10-year-old Slurpee cup of the Undertaker. Just looks like he's just sitting in the air.
That plastic is in your body.
Oh, definitely.
I wonder how. I guess is there a video views? This is a clear glass and a green screen. Always interesting.
Oh yeah, you're never gonna see that. It's gone.
Great. What are we doing today? We're doing a Commander set review. But before we do, let's get into some quick biz. Obviously, we got to thank you for listening. This is That's is why we do it. Thank you for listening. It really does mean a lot to us. If you want to share it around, that also means a lot to us. If you have some extra cash in your pocket, you want to go to patreon.com/commandersbrew, throw a bit that way, that's fine too. We definitely appreciate that. Also, thank you to the Ultimate Guard for their sleeves and boxes, and to the Wizards Tower, wizardtower.com. Let's hear an ad from them now. Is it Friday night? Are you getting ready to go out and possibly get turned? Is the squad assembled? Then you need a squad captain. Not every squad member is capable of realizing where they put their wallet, or if they have enough cover to get in, or who's gonna order the Uber if you order Ubers. But the squad captain knows how to keep it fun and keep it fresh. If the squad captain were to order magic cards, they would order from the Wizards Tower, wizardtower.com. If you use coupon code War of the Brews, you get an additional 5% off. And they ship anywhere in Canada for free if you order $15 in singles or more. Plus, you get 3% kickback on your next order. That's an excellent deal. The squad captain approves.
Okay, here we go again. Ugh. Oh, brother.
I mean, I know that's not like for me, but I think, that's important to a lot of people.
Well, it may well be, but I think it's pretty garbage.
I mean, if it's not for you, that's fine. I mean, I would never fault other people for doing it. Maybe because
will.
Okay, like just because I know that you're a dad now, so you got more responsibilities.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
You can't go out and party with the
can't.
squad anymore.
No, I can't get out there with the squad anymore, and I do fault people who do, in fact, get out with the squad now, because they got to smarten up. Like I said, here we go again. More of this. You know what I mean? More people cutting too loose.
But that's what the squad captain is for, to make sure that no one goes too wild, to make sure everyone gets to the place on time.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is is there really should there even be a need for a squad captain?
Oh, I see. You're saying in a perfect world, we don't need leaders because everyone does everything perfectly anyway.
All I'm saying is let's look after ourselves.
Okay.
I don't need this thing of someone policing me all the time. That's what I mean, right? If I'm going to go out with my squad, I don't need a captain. I'm there taking care of myself. I'm going to look out for me.
You're your own squad captain.
Let's all be our own squad captains is why I said the stuff at the beginning.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Great. I'm glad I could get that thought across clearly to everyone.
Yep.
Great. Okay, let's... This is a big one. As we all know, the set reviews are a little long. I mean, we don't do every card in the set, of course. But we're going to talk about a lot of cards here today. So let's kind of dive right in. Am I right?
Yeah, we do it from a commander focus. So we're going to talk about the new legendaries, what kind of decks we might want to brew around them, or if they're best in the 99. And then instead of hitting all the colors, we're just going to do the ones we think would make it into commander decks.
You said instead of hitting all the colors. Like we're just not going to talk about blue or black today.
Yeah, I mean, we hardly talk about green anyway. There's hardly any commander cards in
Really?
green.
Truly, it's red. It's red that we never
That's
talk
true.
about on these shows.
Yeah, red has very few commander offerings.
It always has the least amount.
Yes, that's true. So
But
should we get to it?
yeah, right, exactly. Let's start with the legendaries, and this ends up. It's kind of funny how there's only there's less legendaries than the rest of the cards, obviously, but legendaries end up taking up like half the set reviews always.
Yeah,
Because there's more to talk
interesting.
about.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. We're here for Commander. So let's start talking about the mono-colored legendaries from M20. Yeah, let's start right off with Safara, Sky's Blade.
Safara Sky's Blade is a 4 white, so that's 7 legendary angel 7/7. You may pay white and tap 4 untapped creatures you control with flying, rather than pay this spell's mana cost. Flying and lifelink. Other creatures you control with flying have indestructible. So it's a little bit of a it's going to make us think of Avacyn, of course, giving your whole thing indestructible. It's a huge cost. It's a huge body. Safara herself is not indestructible, but being able to cheat on mana is pretty good. 7/7 flying lifelink on its own. This is a very strong commander, and there are numerous dorks in white that have flying if all you wanted to do was just jam out tons of flying little dorks.
Numerous dorks.
Yeah.
I just want to isolate that bit of audio and really come back to that a lot.
Yeah.
Numerous dorks. That's right. Obviously, Avacyn gives everything you have indestructible. I think it's permanence, isn't it?
Yeah, including yourself, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
I think you're right. Yeah. So obviously not as good, but it does a worthwhile impression in a deck with a lot of flyers in it, probably. So it's cool. I like that you can pay 1 white mana for it essentially and tap 4 tokens.
I'm trying to solve if that gets around the commander tax.
You may pay white and tap 4 rather than pay the spell's mana cost. I think
it's like Derevi, right?
I think it's a replacement, so I think you can, yeah. I think it gets around the commander tax because it's an alternate
rather than
thing,
pay.
right?
Yeah, because you're not casting it.
Yeah, exactly. You're not.
You're just. You may pay and tap rather than pay the spell's mana, but that implies you're still casting it. It's weirded in a way that is unfamiliar to me.
It's not an activated ability like Derevi. It's not.
No.
I think it's just a. So maybe you do. Oof, that's rough. All you rules people out there, chime in on that one. But even if you do, that's still pretty good, right?
Even if you do, yeah, that's amazing.
If you want to look it up, go. That's a good move, and I'll just read the next card.
While I'm trying to look it up, but I got to the Sephora website, and I don't think that's gonna
find out what they got on sale there, though. Tell us about that. I'll read the next card, and you can tell us what's going on at Sephora.
Okay.
The next card we have is the mono blue commander for the set, Atemsis. All Seeing, 3 triple blue. Legendary creatures, a Sphinx, 4/5 flyer. You pay 2 to blue and tap it to draw 2 cards, then discard a card. And whenever Atemsis All Seeing deals damage to an opponent, you may reveal your hand. If cards with at least 6 different converted mana costs are revealed this way, that player loses the game. Wow. So you're doing this looting dance where it's 1 card draw, 1 loot essentially. And you're trying to sculpt a hand where you can just kill someone outright with Atemsis attacking and hitting the player. Pretty neat commander build around, right? I think this is very cool.
This is a cool commander in the sense that, how are you ever gonna, unless your opponent has less than 6 cards in hand, but blue tends to have pretty big grips. So I don't, you have to block this. You can't, if you have a chump blocker, you have to throw something away. You can't let this hit you.
And it's a flyer though, right? It's not super easy to block.
Because you're able to draw 2 cards and discard a card, so you can make sure you have more more prices, and like I'm gonna want to load it up with all those equipments that like if you block it, something good happens to the controller of a Temsis.
Totally,
So
yeah,
it's
right.
like,
How about the one where you draw 2 cards if it's blocked? Like,
sure,
right?
sure. Like this commander is. I mean, I'm reluctant to do a monocolor commander to begin with because like that's all you're going to be doing is drawing a million cards, and like I don't know what are you doing after that?
Countering spells, I guess. Like, yeah, that's.
I
not,
guess.
Yeah.
But you want your counter spells to be cheap. Like I don't want counter spells of all prices.
I mean, you do if it's a Temsis, maybe.
Maybe. It's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. It feels like that's a neat take on it. I think it's a new spin. However, like, are we just gonna see this play like a Voltron deck essentially, where like, do you have 6 cards in your hand? It's like you don't. Well, then, I guess I'll let it through. But then it's gonna end up being that you have to block it anyways because commander damage. And then, are we loading this up with auras? Are we putting like, I guess it's mono blue, so there's the only types of auras you're gonna find there are like can't be blocked and stuff like that, right? Like,
I mean that's good.
that is good for sure. It's interesting. It seems like it might be a little bit different than a traditional Voltron deck because you're not really putting anything on attempts. You don't really need to if you get those cards in your hand.
No, I'd want a ton of looters as well so that I could just because I think the real move is like if there were ways to draw cards so that your opponent's like, oh, you only got 4 cards in hand? Yeah, I'll take it in. It's like, okay, before damage, Blue Sun Zenith for 15, and now I have all the converted mana costs.
True,
so
at
you're dead.
least 6. Yeah, if you just draw if you just have like the no maximum hand size stuff and just have a hand that's like 15 cards, yeah, you're just gonna win.
But I'm talking like you cast that instant that lets you draw those cards after your opponents don't block because they think it's like, oh, you only got 3 cards. I'm not afraid.
Yeah, right. Be careful. Attempts it's attacking into you with like 20 mana. Dude, that's also a problem.
Yeah.
Neat card. I am tempted to look into building an Attempts deck. I think it's really neat design here. Very good job.
Okay, in black we've got Villis, Broker of Blood. I cannot read this without thinking of Different Strokes. What you talk about, Villis? If you remember that show with Gary Coleman. So this is sort of like meant to be a fair Grizzlebrand, I think. It's 5 white. It's a legendary demon.
It's not white. It's black.
Black, sorry. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
8/8 flying, black. Pay 2 life. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Whenever you lose life, draw that many cards. Damage causes loss of life. So you're just going to be drawing all kinds of cards with Villis out. It's not as broken as Grizzlebrand. Obviously, it's not banned because you do have to pay mana to do it. But paying 2 life, giving a creature -1/-1 is maybe irrelevant. But you're just paying black to draw 2 cards essentially with Villis out there.
Yeah, you can pay 4 black to draw 8 cards. You lose 8 life.
Yeah.
And if there's no other creatures out there, Villis gets -4/-4 until the end of turn. But that is a fine deal, right? Like, you'll take that. Obviously, you're probably gaining life in other ways in this mono black deck.
I suppose the possibility of decking yourself becomes real because anytime you take... Because I'm assuming you're going to want to be putting life gain as well in the deck. And if you're gaining life, your opponents are going to be hitting you for 50. It's like if they hit you for 50, you have to draw 50 cards.
Yeah, that's right. Like over the course of the game, if you've gained life and people are just attacking you. But are people going to want to attack you if this guy's your commander and he's out just because, oh man, I don't want to give Sean like 7 cards. Like even like that's a pretty small attack. Like even if you attack for 5, it's like, oh, am I really going to let this guy draw 5 cards? Like, that's terrible. What a bad deal for me.
But you have to eventually.
You have to. I guess I think this is another spoiler alert. I'm very pleased with the legendaries in this set, both monocolored and multicolored. I love this card. I think it's very cool. I hope it doesn't end up being $1 million and it's so good in every format like Grizzlebrand. But because this is neat. Like this is a great commander and a very good card in the 99 as well. Like we didn't talk about it, but like Attempts, not a great 99 card, I don't think. Well, maybe. I guess it's probably okay. And Safara, like a fine in like an Angels deck or something. Like you're gonna run that in your 99 for sure, right?
I like Safara if you've got lots of flyers in the 99 because of how cheap it will be to cast her.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, totally. So Villas, I think, amazing 99 card. Commander-wise, like, these are all, like, kind of expensive, like Safara and Villas. Safara has that get around it tax, so I think, or the ability, so that's nice. But Villas doesn't, right? You're waiting until 8 mana to cast this. This thing gets removed. Now you're looking at 10. But, I mean, it might just be worth it just to draw the cards for the first time. But you still need that mana. So, like, you still need it to survive a go around the table, right? So, as a commander, it's a little prohibitive.
Who's that 5 mana demon from I think Ravnica Allegiance, the Surveil demon, where you get to pay 2 life and Surveil 2 and then draw 2 if you have Villas out, so you're just like freely paying life to Surveil 2, draw 2.
That is pretty cool. Yeah, that's a automatic include in the Villas deck for sure.
Yeah.
8 mana being the biggest downside of this card, but I think it's probably generally going to be worth it.
Yeah. So who's our red mono commander?
Our red mono commander is Dracuseth, Maw of Flames. Dracuseth sounds like a fake, like I made it up when I was 10 years old. Dracuseth.
Sorry for whoever wrote that name.
Yeah, sorry, because it sounds like you tried to smash your buddy Seth with Dracula.
Yeah. Seth got bit by a vampire. Now he's Dracuseth.
It's 4 red, so 7 for legendary dragon, 7/7. Flying, that's been a real theme. Have they all had flying? Yeah, all these guys have had flying. Yeah. Dracuseth, Maw of Flames. Whenever it attacks, it deals 4 damage to any target and 3 damage to each of up to 2 other targets. So when this guy attacks, the 7/7 dragon, Dracuseth, half Dracula, half Seth, you get to do 10 damage.
Yeah.
Split up into up to 3 targets, essentially, right? So 4 at 1, 3 at 1, 3 at 1. Or you could do it all in the same. You could do it all... you could do so basically like
I think it says other. It implies you have to all.
It deals 4 damage to any target and 3 damage to each of up to 2. Oh yeah, you're right. Other targets. You are right. Sorry. Yeah.
So you can't hit one person for 10, but like I'm sure you can find some good targets. Like you're allowed to hit all your opponents 1 for 4, 2 for 3.
I think you can do 4 and 6 though, right? Because this says up to 2 other. So you can do 1 other, right?
Up to 2 other targets and 3 damage to each of up to 2.
Up to 2. That's I think.
But if you only pick 1 other target, you only get 3. You don't get to do the 6 to 1 other target. 3 to each of up to 2.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yep. There you go, Sean. With the precise rules knowledge.
Precise rules. I mean, they're making it very like it's not. It's like you got to really think about that.
Yeah, it's not super intuitive.
No. But I mean, this is why the game is good, because they have the ability to write things out specifically, so there should be no confusion, unless you're just confused at parsing the sentence.
So what do you think of Dracuseth? I think it's more of a 99 card.
Yeah, I think it's a 99 card. I mean, all these cards are so expensive that like I would want, like you can't rely on Dracuseth, and there's no specific synergy between Dracuseth and like what is it? It's not asking the deck to do anything unless you just have like a mono red deck, some kind of mono red like Punisher deck that doesn't care about their commander. And then if you get to this much mana, presumably you give it haste and you just do a bunch more damage, but it's just there as like a backup plan. That's the only world I can see this being your commander.
Yeah, it feels like when they talk about damage stuff, they obviously have to be careful with, constructed and limited as well when they're designing these cards. But like, if you were designing this card strictly for commander and you didn't have to worry about other stats, like you would have given this thing haste, right? Like you would have given this thing something else to do, I think. But
you've spent enough
understand.
on it.
Yeah, exactly, right? 7. I mean, it is a 7/7. Don't get me wrong, but like it for commander, I feel like that one little extra thing to get over the hump would have been important.
But we have access to Varric's Bladewing from Dominaria. It's a 4 mana 4/4. And if you kick it for 7 mana, you get with 2/4/4s. It's different, but like, I mean, it's hard. I can't imagine a deck that would want Dracuseth over Varix.
Or Lathless. Like if you're gonna have
Or
a
Lathless.
mono red
Yeah.
dragon as your commander, like Lathless is your dragon commander, right?
Tough to design in red.
Tough to, yeah. Yeah, agreed.
Well, let's see if the flying commanders continues with green with Gargos, Vicious Watcher, 3 green for a Hydra. It's 8/7 with Vigilance. Sorry, Gargos. But
Not even
Vigilance
reach? Come on.
Not even reach. Vigilance is excellent in Commander, though.
It is.
Hydra spells you cast cost 4 less to cast.
Okay.
Neat. Whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell, Gargos fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell, it doesn't mean your opponents. You can target them yourself. Then Gargos fights someone. Okay.
And you don't have to have it fight, which is nice. Like if there's only like a 10/10 on the battlefield and it's going to
That's right.
You don't have to worry about that. So that's nice. I like that it's optional text.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of, like Hydras finally have a commander. That's great. Obviously, all your Hydras enter with 4 extra counters for free. I like the idea of somehow giving Gargos indestructible or like Darksteel Plate or something like that, and then just fighting everybody.
Oh wow, fight me, Gargos.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, I think it's, on theme. I love it. Right. This is the Hydra commander, mono green. It's got this cool ability, this fight ability, which can remove some stuff. It's not probably going to end up being the best Hydra commander, strictly speaking, from a, gameplay, like who's my commander going to be. Like there are still better, I think, mono green, some better ones, right? Like Selvala is a big one and stuff like that. But I love it, and I do not have a complaint about Gargos. I think it's fun. The fight mechanic in Commander is always questionable, right? Like, like I just said, like that situation where the only other creature is like an Eldrazi, that happens. So
yeah, that
it's
does
not
happen.
quite as valuable. But that being said, like I still think this is really great for theme, and I think people are gonna have a lot of fun with Gargos.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential to brew here. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
And so
you could run this in your 99 of your Hydra deck. It doesn't have to be the commander, right? Like
of course.
You could simply make it in there, and then when it gets out there, it's a nice mana reducer. So it works that way too. That's good.
Yeah.
Great.
So let's move on to, that's all the the single colors. Let's go to some of these multicolor ones. Who is our first multicolor? And it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, they tried to shore up some of the like Khans of Tarkir wedges.
Yeah, we've got a lot of the wedges here. Yeah, all of them.
Great. So who's Mardew's up first? Who's the Mardew one?
Mardew, we have Kalia, Zenith Seeker. Kalia is making her return to Magic, with another like similar costed like cheap commander here. Red, white, black. So 3 mana Mardew for a 3/3 legendary human cleric, flying and vigilance. So the flying commanders continue. Gargos, you're the odd man out here. When Kalia enters the battlefield, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal an angel, a angel card, a demon card, and or a dragon card from among them, and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So you're gonna draw. Ideally, you're gonna hopefully you reveal 6. You get to draw all 3. You get to pick. You get an angel, demon, dragon.
Yeah.
Odds are you're probably getting at least. You're probably getting like 2 cards at least, I'd say, right? Like probably somewhere in that range.
My pessimistic brain assumes 1.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to hit a couple of lands, couple of ramp spells, 1 demon. But still, like any commander that lets you draw cards, especially in these colors, is amazing. Like that's Mardew. This is a Mardew card that says draw a card. Maybe 2.
Yeah, you know what I wish it did in addition to this? I mean, maybe they just ran out of room because there's a lot of text on the card. But like I wish it did it every time she attacked or something.
Oh yeah.
Because yeah, this is cool. I get this ability. I get it once, and now I have a 3/3 flying vigilance creature out there in my angels, demons, and dragon card, and it's neither an angel, a demon, or a dragon. Of course, old Kalia will let us put those cards into play. So, like, this looks to me more like a 99 in original Kalia. Whereas,
for sure.
and like, it's got white, so we can do some blinking type stuff, which is what you're going to probably want to do in the Zenith Seeker deck. I just wish it was, I would just wish it happened in some other way, as well.
Just FYI, I did a search for any creatures that shared those types. There are no angel demons and there are no angel dragons, but there is a demon dragon and it's Malfagor.
Oh.
Just the one.
So
So if you get
auto-include.
Malfagor and another demon, you can count Malfagor as the dragon.
Right. Nice. Wow.
And then, of course, like Torian Mauler. I'm always going to put Torian Mauler in any kind of tribal deck.
Yeah.
That changeling.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, that's the auto include in that color. So yeah, I like Kalia because I think it's just fun to get these types of decks into newer players' hands, and they can play with their own new Kalia decks, and they can still build similar stuff around it. But I think if you have an old Kalia deck, this Kalia is not replacing anyone for you, but I think is a great addition to that deck.
Kalia the Slim.
All right, who's next?
Kethis, the Hidden Hand, who I can only read this as Keith, so from now on I'm going to call him Keith, the Hidden Hand. Keiths.
Keiths.
So this is the Abzan commander. Like Kalia, it just costs the colors, no additional colorless. So white, black, green. Legendary Elf Advisor, 3/4. Legendary spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. It does say legendary spells, so that includes any sorceries, those legendary sorceries, any legendary artifacts.
Planeswalkers.
Planeswalkers, of course. Exile 2 legendary cards from your graveyard. Until end of turn, each legendary card in your graveyard gains. You may play this card from your graveyard. I mean, that's a value. That's value. You are restricted to brewing mostly legendaries, which, as Andy, you are familiar. If you listen to our Atraxa Legendaries Tribal episode, we've got a legendaries deck. You can do a lot with just legendaries.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna want to. You don't have. So you won't have access to blue because Atraxa has blue. So that cuts off a lot of our legendaries. But I do think if you there's enough legendaries out there that if you try to theme your legendaries, you can probably find legendaries around some kind of theme within Obzon. Usually +1/+1 counters. I mean, Gave's going to go in this deck if that's the case.
Tokens and +1/+1 counters are going to be a strong theme, I'd say. Yeah.
Sure. Trostani, both Trostanis could go in this deck. Like, I do think as long as you, I wouldn't just put random legends, but if you kind of try to pick a theme, I think you could do something really fun with Keiths.
Keiths. Yeah. I love it. Like, I think it's great, right? Legendary spells, getting a little bit of a reduction there in cost. It's interesting that you have to exile 2 cards in order to play one. Or I guess not play one. It's play legendary cards, right?
Yeah.
Until end of turn, each legendary card gains. Yeah. You may play this card. So you're actually like going down on the number of legendary spells in your graveyard every time you try and cast one from there.
Yeah.
So
I mean, ideally, none of them go to the graveyard anyway.
Yeah. Right. But it seems like if Keith is your commander here, you might want to build around that. Like, you might want to get,
Oh, yeah. I guess that's what the Golgari angle's for. All those, draw, discard, look at the top 5, put one in your hand, the rest in your graveyard.
Yeah,
exactly. A lot of that business.
You can really get, you can do a little self-milling in green-black, and you can fill up your graveyard and then start, really getting value from there.
Yeah.
I think Keith, or Kethis, but I think Keith is a great commander. Look to build legendary tribal, obviously, and it's also I'm putting this right in. I'm gonna put it in the deck, in the 99 of that. Of my Atraxa Legends.
For sure.
Just because it's just so on theme. It's so great. I love it. I love these legendary creatures. I think they've really done a great job.
Yeah, agreed.
Next, this is now a new theme of every multicolored legendary starts with a K. Kaikar? Kaikar, Wind's Fury. This is the Jeskai one. So 1 blue, red, white. So 4 mana for a legendary bird wizard. I tell you, that was exciting text when I saw it right away. It's a 3/3 flyer, and it says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. Sacrifice a spirit and add red mana. Just randomly, you just get to add red mana only, which is it seems strange to me, but that's fine. It's good ability. I like this commander quite a bit. I don't know why it doesn't make birds, but I guess because it's spirits. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of weird things about this card, but they don't really take away from it. Like, I think if you wanted to make like let's make this Jeskai like a bird. Like, oh man, we'll make him like a bird commander. Yeah, bird wizard. Yeah, non-creature spells, perfect for Jeskai. And now it'll make spirits. Like, what? Why does it make 1/1 birds?
Yeah, that's. I mean, the fact that you
sure.
like theme wise, I agree with you. That makes no sense. Game wise, I'm glad it's spirits because there's way more spirit tokens than bird tokens.
Yeah.
Like that's gonna happen more.
It's true.
I think, so. If you go way back to Commander's Brew episode 136, we did an episode, Jeskai Token Squall. It was sort of like a Shu Yun led token storm deck. And it ran all of the little like Young Pyromancer, Talrend, and it's just tons and tons and tons of cantrips to like get a ton of tokens out.
This card's great.
Kikar is the new commander of that deck.
No question, right?
I am revisiting that deck. I'm gonna and we've got a lot of new tools too. We've got it should be. We'll see how this goes now.
Yeah, this card, like the sacrifice of spirit to add red is also so good.
Yep.
Oh wow, that's great.
Very, very fun. Very fun. So like if you're looking to build a Kikar deck and you can't wait, go back and listen to episode 136 because that's the Kikar.
You should never key a car. That's
you should never.
That's bad. That's rude. It's not nice. Yeah.
Leave a passive aggressive note under the windshield wiper.
Yeah, and then sign it as your name, Wind's Fury.
Yes.
Don't ever park like this again. Sincerely, Wind's Fury. Like this is the Wind's Fury.
Yeah.
I love this card. I think it's really cool.
Me too.
And I guess you don't have to build it about birds, of course, because it doesn't make birds. So why would you? But I love it so much. It's really cool. What's next?
Ooh, Omnath, Locus of the Royal. Omnath keeps getting more colors.
Adding colors, yeah.
So now Omnath is 1 green, blue, red. Now Omnath is Temur. Although I'm disappointed not to see blue arms. Oh, his feet are blue.
His feet are blue now. They're made of water.
They're in the water. Oh, because he walks through the water and he picks up blue elementals.
I guess, yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an elemental for 3/3. And we know that original green Omnath let us just hold green mana and got bigger for how much green we have. Green-red Omnath is kind of like the main commander one. Every time you hit landfall, you get a 5/5 elemental, and then when elementals die, you do damage. So now, when Omnath Locus of the Royal enters the battlefield, it deals damage to any target equal to the number of elementals you control. So, if you were familiar with the old Omnath, you always had like a dozen elementals on the board if you were doing it right. So that's like a dozen damage wherever you want. We're going to do elementals tribal. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target elemental you control. And if you control 8 or more lands, draw a card.
Yeah.
Wow. That's very good. So already I'm just like +1/+1 counters, whatever. Is Fertilid an elemental?
I think so, yeah. I don't know, actually. Maybe it's an insect. Fertilid?
Fertilid is an elemental.
Yeah, I thought so.
Great. So, that costs you mana. I haven't dug deep, but I'm sure there is something you can put on a creature to, just get all of your lands out very easily. That's excellent.
Yeah, I wonder if there's, it would have to be an elemental for it to make sense, but remove a counter, get a land or something like that. Fertilid is probably the closest thing. So it costs 3 every time you do that, but and it comes in tapped, and it's only basics. But it's still that's still a little bit of a chain you can get going. Even if you only could do that 2 or 3 times, that's pretty solid because you're still drawing cards off of that too, right? That's not bad. It's a nice
and if you get to untap, then you just have more fuel to do that even more next time.
Exactly.
I like Omnath a lot.
Me too. I think it's great. You're probably not necessarily, but he's probably going to be putting the counters on himself, right? You put the plus counter on him, he gets a little bigger, draws you a card. My favorite thing is that it's not just when you play a land; it's whenever a land enters the battlefield.
Right.
So like it's going to be off of your fetch lands. It's going to be off of all that stuff. All your search, your all your ramp cards are now going to draw you extra cards. That's unreal. That's so good.
Very powerful.
Yeah. So this is a powerful commander. It's and you know what the other thing I love about this is it doesn't just like step in and replace if you have an angry Omnath deck, or even maybe more so if you have an original Omnath deck, a mono green deck. But even then that's different because it's a monocolored deck. But if this doesn't just replace angry Omnath, right? Like that's a pretty different deck.
Yes, if you don't like Omnath, Locus of the Royal doesn't generate elementals.
Right.
Angry Omnath generated elementals. So like I'm going to throw in Angry Omnath. I'm going to throw in any creature that makes elemental tokens. There are lots of them. Just young Pyromancer is a favorite too. Every time.
My favorite thing is that like you don't even need to build around the elemental part of this. Like that is a cool bonus, but that's only on enter the battlefield, right? Like the main part of this card, if you wish it to be, is just this landfall, draw you a card, make himself bigger. Like that alone is a very cool ability. And vice versa too, right? Maybe you just build around the elementals, but you're still going to get this sweet bonus of landfall, draw a card. But yeah, I love it when it's flexible like that. Like you don't have to build an elementals deck if you don't want to, but you certainly can. Yeah.
And but either way you go, I'm certainly putting Tatiova in this deck.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah, Tatiova, Angry Omnath. Like this is great. I love this deck.
Yeah,
I love
fun.
this card. Great. Next we have Yarok, buddy. Let me tell you something, Sean. Yarok.
You rock too, Ed.
You rock, dude. You rock, man. Yarok the Desecrated. This is the Sultai new commander. So two and Sultai. So 2 black, green, blue. 5 mana for the legendary Elemental Horror. So still talking about elementals here. Definitely a theme in M20. It's a 3/5 and it has Death Touch and Lifelink. Pretty good. I like Death Touch on a 3/5. If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So it's Sultai's very own Panharmonicon.
But better.
But exactly, and better, because it's just permanents. It's not creatures or artifacts. So now enchantments will do it. Planeswalkers will do it if that is a thing that happens. Yeah, any permanent.
So this is the kind of ability that we as Commander players love to like brew around and to go nuts.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt that there are already numerous forum threads that have illustrated the best ETB effects to double with these.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, okay, I can't think of the best card because like I'm sure it's already been done. Now I want to think, what's the funnest theme to do? Like what are the different themes we can do in Sultai? Sultai has access to a lot of cool themes.
Definitely. Obviously, Graveyard's a big theme. Making a Sultai artifact deck that does this is kind of interesting. Double it up with Panharmonicon if you want. There's there's a lot of options here. It's life gain because this guy has lifelink. Like, there's a lot of stuff, man. This is going to be, I think, a card like Muldrotha where it's like it's great, right? This design is so good. It does something that obviously is very powerful in Commander. But I bet you we're going to see so much of it, we're going to be like, ugh, stupid Yarok. Oh, good. Because that's what everyone...
Sure.
I feel like whenever anyone plays Muldrotha, you're like, oh, God, a Muldrotha deck. You're just going to be able to get everything from your graveyard, whatever you want, huh? Like, no rules for you. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Yarok. Oh, yeah, you had something get into the battlefield. Oh, I guess do it again. Sure.
Save your targeted removal.
But that just means it's good, right? That's not really a downside. That's actually why it's so good. So I like Yarok. I think it's going to be good.
Yarok's cool. We have a technically colorless, but by our standards, this is a 5-color commander. Mm-hmm. So Golos, Tireless Pilgrim, costs 5 generic. Legendary artifact creature, Scout. I don't know of any other scouts.
I know. I don't know. I know. I noticed that too. I was like, are there any other scouts?
Well, this just tells me that there's going to be a set in the future with tons of scouts, and Golos will be the commander. So Golos, I said 5 color because all 5 mana symbols appear in the rules text. So the color identity of Golos is all 5. So
heads up, sorry. There are lots of scouts. Many scouts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Tons of them. Anyways.
Not one of them registered in my mind. Is Tireless Tracker a scout?
Possibly.
If Tireless Tracker is not a scout, oh yeah, human scout. Okay, good.
Yeah, yeah. Most of them are that, like human scout, elf scout, bird scout. But this is one of the only ones probably that is simply scout. Anyways.
Fair enough. Okay, so here's what Golos does. When Golos, Tireless Pilgrim, enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. That's super Solemn Simulacrum because you can get any land instead of a basic. That's excellent. Solemn costs 4. This costs 5. I feel like, in general, like that's just an excellent card. I did say it had 5 color identity, though, so you can't just jam this in any commander deck, which I would have if it was truly colorless.
Yeah, exactly.
2, Wooburg. So that's 2 white, blue, black, red, green. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn without paying their mana costs. Yikes. This is not. So we're on a real tight balance here because you have to get to 7 mana of all the colors, so you need lots of fixing spells. You're probably going to be heavier green than anything else because that makes it the easiest to do these sort of things. So you're going to need lots of little Farseeks and like little things that tutor up lands. So all of that stuff always dilutes it. So because you can't just run 9 mana crazy spells over and over. So we're going to need to back Golos up with the ability to put stuff on the top of your library. And we're going to need to back it up with just like, I mean, I don't know, like you just got to get lucky a little bit sometimes. It's interesting.
Yeah, and like, are you just doing this at instant speed? That gets around that stuff, right? It gets around you can play a creature at instant speed if you get it in your top 3 cards.
Yeah,
right?
that's true. That's true. So you can play all of them. So I mean, maybe it's just value. Like I want to compare it to a Joda deck, but Joda you have it in your hand and you can do it whenever you want. Exactly, you get more reliability that way. Like I don't know. I'm torn on Golos.
Yeah. I think it's good. I think it's good because it's kind of this new, again, like. I like the design space here. It's like it's a Solemn Simulacrum commander, so it gets a land, and then it does this other thing where it's this like 5 color madness thing where you just get these free spells. Like this could potentially be like it could be a game breaking turn where you pay 7 mana and get to play like 3 huge spells, right? Like I just have like I don't know, like the one where you steal everything, and then the an extra turn card and something else. You're just like, what? You know, like you just at instant speed you even get to do that stuff. So I obviously that's the sky high ceiling. There's obviously going to be turns where you just whiff on this and hit lands or hit like a ramp card or something. I like it though.
Maybe Golos is sort of like, because like right now it's pre-selling for just under $2, which sounds good. So maybe Golos is your best 5 color good stuff deck. So you're not just building for the so it allows you to play all 5 colors, and no matter at what point, no matter how your mana is doing, if you're like, geez, I'm screwed, I don't have any white sources, great, cast your Golos and then get a white source. And now you're doing, and then like if you have mana, you're like, I'll activate it, I don't care, like I didn't build the deck to do this, but if I have mana and Golos is down, it seems like it's a very low cost way to just put this in your command zone to basically make a Canadian Highlander deck.
That's true. You're right. 5 color Canadian Highlander deck has a commander, and it's Golos.
It
looks like he's in Canada somewhere there. He's probably in like...
Oh, yeah, that's BC.
I was going to say that's BC probably, right? That's somewhere in British Columbia. Yeah.
For sure.
There.
Yeah.
I love it. I just love that it's like it's reminiscent of Magic cards we've seen, so it's in some ways it's familiar to us, but it also seems like a pretty new thing for to have on a commander. So I love it.
Neat.
Finally, and I don't know why this is at the end, like of all the commanders, because we did this with Scryfall, but Rien is like it's kind of a weird outlier because we got all the wedges and we got a 5-color deck.
I think is Rien the one that you have to buy a box?
Is this
to
the
get?
buy a box? Okay,
yeah.
Okay, that would be why then. So Rien is randomly a Naya commander, 2 red, green, white. So 5 mana for a legendary angel. It's a 5/4 with flying. Other multicolored creatures you control get +1/+0. And then whenever another multicolored creature you control dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. This is neat. I think Rien is really cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah, right? Like you can go a lot of different ways with this deck. The fact that she's an angel doesn't have to make any, doesn't have to matter to you, but you can still make it a Naya Angels deck. That's kind of interesting. But you don't have to do that. Just go straight multicolored creatures. Obviously, you're going to do something with that because you're getting that power boost. If they die, you can make a sacrifice style deck because there are sacrifice effects in red and white, in green too, for that matter, right? Like green has sac effects. So I love the idea of a sac deck that doesn't have any black in it, and doesn't need black.
I like echo creatures in this because you just don't have to pay the echo. It's very mean, but Avalanche Riders is the echo creature that when it enters, you get to destroy target land.
Yeah.
But it's yeah, sure, I'll just keep doing that, just destroying lands every turn. That's mean.
Get it back to your hand, right? Next end step, play it every other turn, kind of. Yeah, I think this is a fun build around Commander. I'm very interested to see this, the type of stuff you can do with this. Red feels like it's going to be key for this deck, which I also really like because that ends up being, when you're talking about the Naya colors, usually it's built around big creatures, right? You get the big beasts, and you get even sometimes big tokens. Tokens is a thing with Naya sometimes too, but in this one it feels like having the creatures die and having effects happen, that's a black, that's definitely a black thing. White has some into that too, and red as well. So I also neat.
I like you can get using hybrid mana that counts as multicolor. I think we can get a very aggressive deck going with this, getting them all a little bit extra, because then you're okay, fine, I'll trade, I don't care, because I'm gonna get it back in the end of turn, and it doesn't cost me much to cast it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you could many different ways. I love it. I think it's so
great
so
design.
Cool. Great design. Yeah. Overall, I think they really killed it with the legendary creatures in this deck. I said it before, or in this set rather, and I'll say it again. I think they've done a great job.
Yeah. Whenever we're begging for reprints, we like to use the hashtag Wizards Please.
Wizards Please.
For these ones, Wizards Thanks.
Wizards Thanks.
Wizards Thanks.
THX.
Wizards Thanks.
Wizards Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, it's so easy to, when something's not going your way, complain about it, right? Which Magic players we end up doing a lot, but just because we love the game. But it's also important to let them know when they've done a great job. So I think it's just complete home runs all around. Various different types of things. It seems like they've really built for Commander for all of these legendaries, while not making it too outside of the set's themes and things like that too. It seems like
great.
I mean, this isn't a multicolored set; it's a core set, and they put in a bunch of 3-color commanders. Thank you.
Yeah, at Mythic, just sure, we'll use up a bunch of Mythic spots, keep the Commander players happy.
Yeah,
couldn't be happier.
Couldn't be happier. Great use of those slots. So I think it's an A+ out of the park. Great job on all of these. Yeah. But let's talk about the rest of the set.
Let's talk about the rest of the set. So we'll go through color by color. We'll start with lands and then colorless, because those sort of go more in decks. And then we'll just break them down color by color. And then at the end, I mean, this is something we always used to do. We'll do planeswalkers at the end, because there usually isn't many of them. But maybe we're gonna it seems like they're gonna give us more and more planeswalkers as we go. So maybe there are some we just don't need to talk about moving forward.
It's a good point.
But we'll hit them this time. So starting with lands, we get the Scry lands back, right? So are they all? Is it 5 or 10 of them?
That's a great.
I think we're getting. I didn't think to check that. So
I'll look. Well, you tell me about them and I'll look.
So the Scry lands come into battlefield tapped, and they let you scry 1. These were from Theros originally, and they've never been expensive. Like, they're creeping up to, the high demand colors always are going to cost more. Your blue-black ones are always going to cost a bit more. Blue-red, for example. But you can pick all of these up for under $5. And I think now that they're getting reprinted, it's still pretty cheap. If it becomes standard required, then they're gonna go up a little bit. But I think you could probably pick these up for a couple bucks, and if you can, you should.
These are the enemy-colored temples only. So Izzet, Golgari, Simic, Orzhov, and Boros.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Great. They're solid. Yeah, great. Not much to say about them other than they're good to run. Yeah. Next, there we go. Next, we have a pretty neat little land here. Field of the Dead. It's a colorless land. Field of the, I mean, all lands are colorless, I guess, but it taps to add colorless. It enters the battlefield tapped, and it says whenever Field of the Dead or another land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands with different names, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token.
That's not hard.
That's not hard in Commander. Like, you have 7 lands. Oftentimes, you have 7 lands with different names.
That's often the case.
Yeah, definitely. So, my question to you is, how often are you putting this in a deck that A, doesn't care about zombies?
Yeah.
And B, like, is 3, like, what like, how likely are you to put it in a 3-color deck? How likely are you to put it in a 5-color deck?
See, so my cautions, my like alarm bells for Field of the Dead is like, I want to compare it to that Emeria, that white
Sky
land,
Ruin? Yeah,
the Sky Ruin, because I mean that one needs specifically planes, and that's hard to
7
do.
planes, yeah.
But if I'm running Field of the Dead and I'm accelerating my lands, I'm probably heavy green, which means I'm probably searching up basics. So if I'm 3 colors, okay, my first 3 searches give me 3 different basics. Field of the Dead is a 4th. I only need 3 other lands of other colors. I think it's easy to do. Mm-hmm. My only issue is, like, if I'm a zombie deck, I'm probably blue-black, maybe blue-black-white. I don't think I'm ramping lands in the same way. Like, I might be getting 1 or 2 a turn if I have a fetch, which is not nothing, but in a 3-color deck, your colorless land slots are in very high demand. And like, is this going to boot out a Rogue's Passage? Is this going to boot out Ghost Quarter? Is this going to boot out Homeward Path? I don't know.
I think that that's the point I wanted to talk about. I think it's weird that this card feels like it's less at home in like blue-black zombies than it is in like a random 4-color deck, or like I would probably include this in any like 3-color deck that wants creatures or wants tokens or wants like a disposable creature. So it doesn't necessarily have to be on any kind of like zombie theme, because that 2/2 is going to chump block, or that 2/2 is going to be sack fodder or something like that. That could be that's to me that's really good. But in a 2-color deck, like, it might be way harder than we think to get 7 lands with different names. Like you need all the, like, whatever you're playing, whether it's Guild Gates or the original duels. Like, you need like 2 of those. You get 2 other ones. Like, the fetches don't count because they're gonna go get. I guess they count to a point, and then they're gonna be basics. It's like 2 basics plus 2 of the good fetches, let's say, or sorry, 2 of the good dual lands, and then you need 3 other cards. So this counts as 1, and then you need 2 more. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I get that a lot in my 2-color decks. I just don't know.
I don't know either. And I will say that this isn't an exciting enough card to make me want to just experiment with it. Like, I'm not even at the point where I feel like chucking it in a couple decks to see how it does.
I agree in the way that, like, I'm not going to run out and buy a bunch of Field of the Deads and put them in decks. But if I open one or somehow just like come across one, I will try that out. I'll toss it in a deck and see.
Okay,
I'll definitely get one and put it in my 3-color zombie deck, right? Like, I think this goes in every 3-color zombie deck, no question.
No question.
I think it also is probably a pretty easy include in any 2-color zombie deck. I don't know how often you're going to get it working, but I would at least try it out. And then to me, the real question is though, it's like, when am I putting this in my other, like, obviously like 5-color decks, the colorless slots are very premium, right? Like,
yeah,
if you want any, you want really good stuff. So I don't really think that this gives you enough for that. But 3-color and 4-color decks, I'm tempted. I'm tempted to just put this in and see how well it is.
Okay.
How well
okay.
it works. Yeah.
They gave us another land, which is this land. It's Lotus Field.
This land is my land. This land is your land.
It's Lotus Field. It has hexproof. It enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters, sacrifice 2 lands. So this becomes, if you play this as your 3rd land, you sacrifice those 2 others and you go down to 1 land on the battlefield. Tap, add 3 mana of any 1 color. They gave it hexproof, so no one can just destroy it with the Ghost Quarter, which would suck.
Yeah.
But this is they basically reprinted a reserve list card. It's which one is it? It's
Oh, that is an excellent point. You are right.
Right? So I don't even know the names because I don't think of, like, we brew budget decks, so we're like, I don't know, reserve list, who cares?
Oh yeah, so it's a card, but it only adds colorless. Is that a reserve? Is that the reserve card we're thinking of? The one that comes in, you sack 2 lands, and then it makes like 3 or 4 colorless mana. That one?
Yes.
I didn't know that was a reserve list card. But I don't know what's on the reserve list, so that's not any.
It's Lotus Veil. When Lotus Veil comes into play, sacrifice 2 untapped lands, or I'll read the Oracle text.
Yeah.
If Lotus Veil would enter the battlefield, sacrifice 2 untapped lands instead. They have to be untapped. Lotus Field doesn't ask you to sacrifice untapped lands. If you do, put Lotus Veil into the battlefield. If you don't, put it into its owner's graveyard. Tap, add 3 mana of any 1 color. So it can be strip mined. It can be whatever you want to call it, wastelanded, Ghost Quartered. Lotus Field cannot. Lotus Field is hexproof, and it's just better. I mean, although for a reserve list card, Lotus Field is only $20, which is a lot better than many, but still, I think this is like this sends a very clear message that they're willing to do strictly better reserve list cards. I don't mean like the vanilla creatures, but like, watch out, reserve list.
Yeah, that, man, I didn't even notice that, and I haven't really. I mean, I'm sure people have been talking about it online and stuff, but like, that is. I mean, this is something people have been talking about, like whether or not this was ever going to happen, and it's totally happened. This is it.
Yeah,
it's a slight upgrade. Obviously, they can point to some different things here and say that it's not just a reprint, but it basically is. Wow. Okay, Lotus Field.
I love the synergy of paying 2, like let's say I have an island and I have a swamp, and I tap those to crack my expedition map to find this, and then that sacks the very island and swamp that I used to get to crack expedition map.
Haha, nice. Fun. Yeah, so I mean, this is like a pretty great land for Commander in general, I think, right? Like, but you don't want to be sacrificing your only 2 sources of something else, because this only creates 1 color.
Right.
But I still think it's pretty good.
I think if you have any way to get lands back from the graveyard, or if you have any untap ability, this is an easy include.
One of the things that, and like 2-color decks, I think are really into this. Like, this is really good for them. And the reason I say that is because, like, similar to the bounce lands, right? When you get your hand of 7 cards at the beginning of the game, and you only have 2 lands in it, right? You get 2 basics. You're like, okay, I can't keep this, right? It's like I only got 2 lands. But when you get a bounce land and a land, you're like, okay, that's 3 mana. So actually, I've only got 2 lands, but that's 3 mana here for me. So that's not the worst. So similarly, like Lotus Field, I mean, obviously it needs you to be able to sacrifice the 2 lands, but it kind of gives you, like, you're getting more mana than it looks like, kind of.
Well, what about this opening hand? Lotus Field, bounce land, regular land.
That's not good, I don't think.
No, that's not good.
That's not good, yeah.
You don't want to sack a bounce land, but like that bounce land means you're going to be off of having 2 like single lands for quite some time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's not, and that's the thing, because like it's not just definite throw it in every single deck, right? It's not.
No way.
There's a real cost to be paid there, But I still think it's good, and definitely anything that cares about any kind of graveyard land synergy is gonna love Lotus Field, obviously. So
Yeah. Yeah.
those decks are popular right now. Let's get to colorless.
Great.
First one is reprint for modern, but it's a hate card for commander as well. Grafdigger's Cage. It's 1 mana for an artifact. Creature cards in graveyards and libraries can't enter the battlefield, and players can't cast spells from graveyards or libraries. Not too much to say here, other than that we're getting a reprint of a very good graveyard hate card that is like kind of expensive. It's like $8-10 or whatever because it gets played in modern. Right now it's going to be cheaper, so get your Grafdigger's Cages if your meta plays a lot of graveyard hate, which it probably does, or rather not graveyard hate, but graveyard synergy. It's just very good. It basically stops everything from the graveyard.
Let's talk about Icon of Ancestry. It's a new card. It's 3 generic for an artifact. As Icon of Ancestry enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. It's pointing towards tribal synergies. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. Great. Another one of these effects. There's lots of cards that do that. 3, tap. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card of the chosen type from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This is a fantastic utility card for any tribal deck. If you have a tribal deck, I feel like this has to be an auto-include. It anthems the team, and it lets you draw more of your creature type.
Yeah, it's not super pushed either, so it's not like sometimes like there was one card that was in the tribal commander decks that was a similar thing where it got kind of expensive really quickly. I don't think Icon of Ancestry you're gonna see that happen to it. So if you missed out on some of those cards, Icon of Ancestry is gonna be a nice addition to your tribal decks.
Yeah.
This one's fun and like kind of narrow usage for commander, but we have to talk about it. I think Colossus Hammer, 1 generic for an equipment. Equipped creature gets +10/+10 and loses flying, and the equip cost is 8. So obviously this is at best in an equipment excuse me, in an equipment deck where we can reduce the equip cost or even make it 0 or something. But an equipment that gives +10/+10 alone is something to like, my eyebrows go up and they say, ooh, what? Like, how can I abuse this? How can I use this?
This has led to a spike in Sigarda's Aid, the white spell that lets all equipment auto attach. This is going to go in Nazan, who like just makes things auto equip. Nazan's Hammer. Like, yeah, if you have any way to do equip shenanigans, obviously Colossus Hammer's got to go in.
Yeah, and it's an uncommon, so it itself is cheap, which is nice.
Yeah. We also got a nice reprint. Again, great with the reprints. Thank you so much.
Wizards Thinks.
This is Steel Overseer, 2 generic for a construct artifact creature, 1/1, tap, put a +1/+1 counter on each artifact creature you control. This came out years ago, and then has, like, because modern decks have a lot of like affinity, a lot of artifact creatures, this has steadily climbed in price. It was reprinted as an invention, and that was crazy money, but finally we're getting it as a regular rare in a regular set, so it's going to drop to a few bucks. Get one even if you don't have an artifact deck, because it'll probably keep going up in price, and you want one in any artifact creature deck. Yeah,
exactly. This card was pretty expensive at one point, I think.
Very expensive, yeah.
And has now dropped back down, and as a result, it's dropping the prices of the other versions of it too. So that's nice for commander players who are playing, for example, Mirror Tribal or Thopter Tribal. These are all nice nice decks for this card to go in.
Saheeli, the new Saheeli.
Yeah, totally, exactly.
So that does it for colorless.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to white cards?
Let's do, please. White. The first white card up is Bishop of Wings. It's white for a human cleric. It's a 1/4. And again, a little narrow, but there's some synergy here. Whenever an angel enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 4 life. And whenever an angel you control dies, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. So it's obviously you're going to want to put angels in this deck, maybe angels tribal. But it's just interesting to me that it's a human that when angels die makes spirits. And that synergy is cool, and I'm positive that you can build around that interaction, and there's other cards that do the thing where like when you sacrifice something, you make spirit tokens. So it just seemed like a neat, like kind of like engine card that might be a part of a combo or something like that, or just a cool like value generator for certain decks.
Oh yeah, and isn't there that card that whenever you've gained 4 life, you make an angel token?
Yes, there are. And
so like,
there's also one that's like Resplendent Angel is when you gain 5 life, you get an angel, I think, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Interesting.
So there's 2 cards that do very similar things, and Bishop of Wings activates one of them and gets you pretty close on the other one.
The next card we're going to talk about is Cavalier of Dawn. This is a cycle of cards. I think they are meant to remind us of the Titan cycle from way back when, from a past core set.
Oh, really?
But so they all kind of have like an enter and a die. I think that's the intention. I think they're, but they're in a bit more fair design space, aka not as good.
Not as good.
So the white one is Cavalier of Dawn, 2 white for an elemental knight, 4/6 with vigilance. When Cavalier of Dawn enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature token. So it's almost like a Beast Within, any non-land permanent. That's pretty good. Like, that's a fine ability.
Yeah.
When Cavalier of Dawn dies, return target artifact or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. I mean, that's very good value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not bad. I think Cavalier of Dawn... are they all? They're Cavalier of whatever. There's one for each color. They're all the heavy mana cost. I think the white one might be the best one. This takes care of a troublesome permanent. It gives them a golem, but like that's not a big deal. And then getting a little bit of return when the creature dies is, like you said, is good value. So
yeah,
Cavalier of Dawn, not the worst. But like this is a mythic. You know what I mean? Like I mean, on one hand we get these awesome legendary mythics, so we can't complain too much when the other mythics are like, I guess this isn't really super for Commander, it's just okay. Which is what's going on.
I hate that attitude. Like, this is why I love playing in a medium strength meta, because I hate the attitude. I'm glad that cards are good. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be able to be, I don't want to say like, if it's not Grave Titan, it sucks. I don't want to live in that world.
It's true. It's true because we get to see these cards show up every now and again and actually do some stuff. Yeah. Agreed. Next is Loxodon Life Chanter. It's 5 and a white for a 4/6 Elephant Cleric. When it enters the battlefield, you may have your life total become the total toughness of creatures you control.
What?
Yeah, right. So if you are lower than that, gain some life, I guess, if you have some creatures. And otherwise, you might not do it. But then it's got this other cool ability, 5 and a white. So again, pay 6 mana again. Loxodon Life Chanter gets +X until end of turn, where X is your life total. So it's not inconceivable that Loxodon Life Chanter is attacking you, threatening to give itself +40/+40 for 6 mana. Like, wow. It's so, like, there's obviously, like, you give this thing trample and then everyone's in trouble. You give this thing flying and it's the same thing. However, there's also the world where, like, you attack and you pay 6 and give your thing +40/+40 and then someone just, like, kills it, or they swords it in response. Risky card, obviously. You want to protect it, but it's just like that is a big ability. We're getting +10/+10 hammers. We're getting this Life Chanter thing that's going to give itself +20 or 30 or 40. Man, they really went big with some of these cards.
I love this design area because most Commander players would say that's probably a bit too slow, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's a bit too risky, it's a bit too slow, but it's the kind of thing that is undeniably powerful, so I want to brew around it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, life gain decks, this is a good card for it. Probably,
throw Swiftfoot boots on him, that's fine. Then I'm not so worried about him getting destroyed at instant speed. Yeah.
You don't even need for it to be a life gain deck. It can actually be a deck that pays a lot of life. And then you put in the Life Chanter, and then it can get, with just a few creatures on the board, it's going to get your life total back up to something reasonable, right?
Oh, man. I want to run that creature from Dominaria that gets you trade your life total for its power. I'll trade my life total, and then I'll drop a Loxodon and get it back up there, and then attack with this huge life linker.
Yeah. It's neat that they're messing with what life totals, like, are, kind of.
What is a life?
What is a life total?
The next one we're talking about is Starfield Mystic, 1 and a white for a human cleric. Looks like this person came straight from Theros.
Yeah, this is pure Theros.
Enchantment spells you cast cost 1 less. Amazing. That Like enchantment decks love this. Enchantment decks will have no limit to the number of I guess there is a limit until you have no enchantments anymore because you just have these. But we love these. Whenever an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Starfield Mystic. That's just upside. Yeah. Get in every enchantment deck.
Right? Like, yeah, add these to your enchantment decks and have a good time.
Yeah.
Now they're cheaper.
Yeah.
Next is Twin Blade Paladin, 3 and a white for a human knight, a 3/3, and it says whenever you gain life, you put a +1/+1 counter on Twin Blade Paladin. All right. And as long as you have 25 or more life, aka the start of the game in Commander, Twin Blade Paladin has double strike. So this essentially, you cast this on turn 4 in Commander, and it's a 3/3 double striker. And anytime you gain life, it gets bigger. The reason I included it is for 2 things. You thought, I guess you thought they were done with saying if you have 25 or more life, get something good. No,
They did this for Commander.
Yeah, they did. Right? Like, so it's a 4 mana 3/3 double strikes. It's like, what is it? A hill giant that double strikes. But the instance of gain life, like there are decks out there like Karlov that care about the instance of gaining life. So like you gain 1/1/1/1. Like this thing can get really big, really, really quickly just off of incidental life gain, right? So I think Twin Blade Paladin might make it into a few decks that, just on that strength alone. So
Agreed.
Anyways.
Agreed.
Great.
So that covers white. Let's move on to some blue cards. The first blue card we want to talk about is Agent of Treachery, 5 blue, human rogue, 2/3. When it enters the battlefield, gain control of target permanent. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 3 or more permanents you don't own, draw 3 cards. That's tricky to pull off unless your whole deck is about that, just stealing these. But it's important to note that this is not a conditional steal. Like once you own it, you own it. Sorry, not own. You control it. I'll use the game terms.
Yeah,
once you control it, you control it for the whole game unless your opponents do another thing to get it back somehow, either bounce it or steal it back. Yeah. That's a lot of mana, and I think if you got a Blink deck, this should get your attention.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, Blink deck, the various different decks that care about stealing stuff. Is it greedy to say that I want this to be a legendary? I wish this was a commander.
Yeah, would you want to play against that deck, though?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of have that deck, there's a lot of different decks that do that. So yeah, no, it's not a downside that this isn't a legendary. I would love it if it was, but this is just like 7 mana, take something, and then perhaps draw some cards if your deck is themed around it. That's cool.
If you already didn't like Deadeye Navigator, here's another reason to dislike Deadeye Navigator even more.
Yes, you are right.
It's like it's permanent. I can take your lands.
You can take your lands. You can take that's oh wow, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, you can take lands. You can take in planeswalkers. You can take anything you want.
What do you got? It's mine.
Right? 7 mana is a lot to pay, and you don't get much with it in that you get a 2/3, but like the thing you steal is obviously what you're actually kind of paying for with that mana cost.
Whew.
All right. Next in blue, Cavalier of Gales. So again, the Elemental Knight cycle here, 2 and 3 blue for a 5/5 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order.
That's brainstorm. Yeah.
And then when it dies, you shuffle it into its owner's library and then scry 2.
I think that's neat.
Yeah. It's it's not nothing. It's kind of cool. 5 mana 5/5 flyers, I think, are pretty good in Commander. I think there's nothing wrong with that. The ability to find something off the top of your library, be able to control the top of your library. That's a nice move. That's a nice thing that you can do. And then again, the dying is just like, the little bit of value there, right? You get to get it back in your deck somewhere and then scry 2.
And that's the like I know that this like the reason Brainstorm is so strong in old legacy type of formats is because if you shuffle your library after you've put 2 cards you don't need on top, it's effectively like a draw 3 kind of deal. I mean, you don't have all the cards, but that's why it's so powerful is if you shuffle. Without shuffles, Brainstorm is not so strong. But if Cavalier Gales you could use it You could kill it somehow, shuffle what you just did, get a scry. Like that seems pretty useful.
That's true.
I don't think I'm putting this in a deck just for the general utility of it, but I do want to, like, I would love to run it just so I can shuffle it back in, scry 2 to have it back on top, and then this next turn just be like, guess what, everybody? Cavalier of Gales.
Certainly tougher to do in Commander than it is in any kind of
yes.
constructed format in the other one. But yes. Yeah. I mean, the idea of like Cavalier of Gales, Brainstorm, sacrifice it to scry 2, like, but I guess you put the 2 on top, so that's not even that good, right? Right? Like if I brainstorm with Cavalier of Gales and then sack it, like,
and then you shuffle, yeah.
Because then I shuffle. Oh, I guess because you shuffle. Okay, never mind. You shuffle then scry 2. Never mind.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, whatever, right? It's okay.
Okay, so next up we got Drawn from Dreams. It's a sorcery. It's 2 blue. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. Put 2 of them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom in a random order. This is fair dig through time.
Exactly. And it's sorcery speed, which is, a downside considering dig was an instant card, I believe.
Dig was an instant, and you could delve for it. So it basically cost you a couple of blue to just take the best 2. But great. Budget. I don't think dig through time's expensive anyway.
No, it's because it's banned and everything, yeah. This card is pre-selling for $1, so yeah, it'll probably even go down from that.
I think so.
Next is Flood of Tears, 4 blue for a sorcery that says return all non-land permanents to their owner's hands. If you return 4 or more non-token permanents you control this way, you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. So this is like, I love this card. It's living in a space where it's like not as good as
Cyclonic Rift.
Thank you, Cyclonic Rift. It's because all the blue cards that do that like have similar names.
Yeah.
It's not as good as Cyclonic Rift, obviously, but it's not simply one of those like just bounce everything sorceries. Like this is going to bounce everything, and then it gets rid of that thing of that a lot of board wipes have where all your opponents get to go first. Like you get something, and it's a permanent, right? So you could drop down a really expensive thing, and it's like, well, that's fine. I'm happy to do that, right? You set everyone back, and then you get to get this start going. I think Flood of Tears is like the new best budget option that isn't, to Cyclonic Rift.
Yeah. I want to. Is there any sort of permanent or creature that when it enters the battlefield, your opponents discard their hand?
Oh, that's mean.
Yes.
Probably maybe in black there might be something.
If it is, it's in black, right?
If there is, I feel like that's really powerful. I don't know if there is that.
Anyway, I won't spend too much time looking for it now. I don't see one off of the quickest of searches I'm doing. Wow. Okay. It's neat with Thought Gorger. When Thought Gorger enters the battlefield, put a +1 encounter on it for each card in your hand and then discard your hand. And when it leaves the battlefield, you draw a card for each counter on it.
Oh, interesting.
Anyways,
yeah.
Let's. I want to break it, and I think the potential is there.
Yeah, agreed. It is definitely there.
Let's talk about a much-needed reprint, Leyline of Anticipation, 2 blue. If we get in all the Leylines back, and if I'm not mistaken, the red one is new. The red one is not a reprint.
I think the green one is new too.
Cool. Anyway,
I could be wrong, though.
This used to be a $20 enchantment. Basically, it's one of the ley lines work that if they're in your opening hand, you get to just put them onto the battlefield as a turn 0 action before the game starts. Now with London Mulligan, like you got a little bit of a better chance to kind of look for them if you really want to. But it lets you cast spells as though they had flash. Great. Thank you, Wizards Thinks.
Wizards Thinks. Next in blue got the most cards in our set review just because there's a bunch of good ones. The next one is Masterful Replication, 5 and a blue for an instant, and it says you choose one, create 2 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature tokens, or choose target artifact you control. Each other artifact you control becomes a copy of that artifact until end of turn.
Wow.
So obviously artifact decks can probably abuse the hell out of this thing.
Yeah.
Making all of your like treasure tokens or all of your Thopters turn into big, massive creatures. Or, I think that's the option you want to be using. And then in a pinch, flashing in 2 3/3 colorless golem creatures might be just the thing you need to save your butt from, getting attacked to death.
I think every commander player is planning on using this to turn a whole bunch of treasures and clues into worm coil engines.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah, right? That's the move, right? That's
the move.
That's the deck it goes in. That's exactly what you want to do. Yeah, Masterful Replication is going to be a card I think you're going to see, again, in a lot of those new Saheeli decks and stuff like that.
For sure. Let's go on to Tail's End. It's an instant.
Sorry, just also, though, especially since Saheeli turns, artifacts into copies of creatures that aren't artifacts, but then they are artifacts. So, you can use Masterful Replication.
You can use that, too.
To turn those into that. Anyways, yeah.
Well, so you're talking, War of the Spark Saheeli, not, Commander Saheeli.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Next blue card is Tail's End. It's an instant. It's white and a blue. Counter target activated ability, triggered ability, or a legendary spell.
Yeah, this is more of is this worth talking about for Commander? I'm not really sure.
I think it's worth talking about. So the only actual spells it counters is legendaries, but fortunately every player at the table has at least one legendary, and it's presumably very important to their strategy.
Exactly.
So if you are in a meta where you need to deal with commanders as soon as they arrive, aka as they're being cast, we referred to a couple before where it's Muldrotha, we were joking around, but if you counter Muldrotha, if you destroy Muldrotha immediately, your opponents can't really get the value out of it, and then their decks are kind of mediocre. So Tail's End is a great way to handle that. Unfortunately, if you don't get to do that, the backup abilities, there aren't. I'm happy to counter a wicked activated ability or triggered ability, but usually those aren't the best moves. Unless you're talking a Planeswalker ultimate, I don't think there's any that I can think of that are you gotta counter this.
Yeah, and there are instances where that's the only thing that can prevent you from losing a game.
Sure.
Right? So that in those cases it's gonna look good. I think you're right though, Sean, in that it's rarely worth a card to counter a activated ability or triggered ability or something.
Yeah.
And in those cases you probably want there's a repeatable way to do it. I think Azorius Guildmage is the one that you can pay 2 and a blue and 2 and a blue counter target activated ability. So that's a good way to do it. There's also Void Mage Husher is another great way to do it, in that it's a flash creature that when it comes into play, you counter target activated ability, and then when you play a spell, you get to bounce it back to your hand. So cool. This has the added flexibility of hitting triggered abilities, and obviously legendary. So I don't know, right? I guess counter decks are probably going to run this more often than a normal deck, but yeah, just interesting to talk about whether or not
I just don't know. Enough. I don't know how this is going to take over for Disallow, which lets you counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability for 1 additional mana.
Oh, it certainly is not, right? If you're running Disallow, you're not taking it out to play Tails.
Right, of course.
It's cheaper, but yeah. Anyways, good to note that it exists now.
So that covers blue. That's our most prominent color. We're moving on to black cards now. Andy, what's our first? It looks like we have the Cavaliers on deck.
Yeah, we got a Cavalier of Night. 2 black. Let's see. Creature is a 4/5 with lifelink. It's an elemental knight, and it says whenever it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, destroy target creature an opponent controls. So that is Bone Splinters. So the spells that they've attached to these Cavaliers are 1 mana spells for the most part.
Yeah.
Brainstorm. The other one is even worse than a 1 mana spell.
Oh,
it's not.
Yeah, that
swords.
was sort of it's not swords.
It's not swords. It's more modern fair swords.
Yeah, it's like the new white beast within from Modern Horizons.
Yeah. And so the Bone Splinters is not that good, but on a creature it's something where you can recur it. It does get better. It's when it becomes a sack outlet. And then it also says when it dies, return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So if you sack something small, when the Cavalier dies, you get it back. That might be something to look at as far as sacrificing decks and little loops and combos and stuff like that. So I think Cavalier of Night is worth looking at for those types of decks. But again, it's for all of these Cavaliers so far, they're just kind of yeah, that's okay.
I think the black ones probably has a home in a deck with tons of sacrificing, because I bet you love it. Sacking creatures is good in those decks, and you can then probably sack the Cavalier to get back something in your graveyard that is part of a combo of sacrificing. I bet, I bet you this can just get you to a win condition quicker.
Yeah, I can get you like a Blood Artist or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Next up is Dread Presence, 3 and a black for a 3/3 creature nightmare. Whenever a swamp enters the battlefield under your control, choose 1. Draw a card, lose a life, or Dread Presence deals 2 damage to any target and you gain 2 life. Well, what an interesting... black does not usually get to throw around targeted damage that easily. So being able to do that, drawing cards and losing a life, black loves doing that. You have to be heavy swamps, though. We were talking about that land of having 7 different land types. If you're multicolor, you have very few actual basics, especially if you're 3 colors. Like, you can't run this in anything but a mono black. But the problem is... I think
there's an exception.
Oh, okay.
First of all, I think it's you probably wouldn't, but it's like okay to run in 2 colors. But the exception, I think, is Golgari. Because
all your tutors.
Yeah, exactly. If you have your ramp cards that just go get basics, well, they go get swamps, and now they draw you cards.
I see.
So that's interesting. Like, I think this is almost... Obviously, it's a good monocolored, mono black card, but I think it's almost equally as good Golgari card.
Yeah, and if you get to equip a Sword of the Animist on this, it's like when it attacks, it does that 2 damage, because you're going to find that swamp. Yeah, okay. You convinced me. Golgari, maybe.
Yeah,
okay.
Golgari is, I think, the exception. And I agree. Like, I think 3 colors, like, it's probably just not really worth it.
Nah. Great. Who's next?
Cool. Next, we have Scheming Symmetry. This is also part of, like, a weird, like, art cycle, which someone pointed out on Reddit, where there's, like, 2 things happening. I'll tell you, I think the only other one we talk about... we talked about one in red here. So.
That blue koi?
The blue one was,
koi?
Yeah, we had a blue one. The white one is okay, but we didn't talk about it. Anyways, the black one is Scheming Symmetry. It's single black for a sorcery that says choose 2 target players. Each of them searches their library for a card, then shuffles their library and puts that card on top of it. So it's like
this is made for Commander.
Right, yeah. Well, yeah. Because I guess the idea in normal, like, not Commander Magic is like, I'll Scheming Symmetry, put it on the top, and then have a way to get it and play it before you can play the one that you tutored, you know?
Ideally.
But in Commander, this is just like, I get something and my ally gets something, right?
Right.
And we've talked about this a lot on the show, where, like, these types of cards are underrated in Commander, because a lot of times, let's say I'm running like a red-blue deck and Sean's running white-green or something, and Butler has a board full of Eldrazi or something. And I'm like, Sean, do you have a card that mass exiles or something like that? And he's like, yeah, I've got it somewhere in my deck. It's like, okay, well, I said I was running green-blue. No, I'm running black. Let's say I'm running red-black, and I have this card. So then I play Scheming Symmetry, and so Sean can go get the card that we all need, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. So things are, and obviously deals get made, and it's like, you got to make the deal that he promises to play it.
Yeah.
you must get that out. But that's what it's going to lead to. It's going to lead to some fun political moves, and hopefully getting value out of one of your opponent's decks occasionally. So yeah.
So interesting. So you got to be, so interesting. I would like to run one in decks and see how it goes.
Yeah, agreed.
And then lastly, in black, we've got another Leyline of the Void. This was another card that was very expensive. It's still pre-selling for a ton of money. I hope it comes down. Two black,
like $20-ish.
Too much. 2 black for an enchantment. If Leyline of the Void is in your opening hand, you may begin it with the battlefield, as usual with all the Leylines. And if a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. It is so expensive because in other Eternal formats, the graveyard decks are very strong, and you get to sneak this in on turn 0, so graveyard decks can't even start to play. Yeah. If your opponent is a dredge deck, they do not get to play. If you have this. Yeah. So like, and in Commander, there are very strong, like this is a card that is so strong in Eternal formats, it was like $50. But we in Commander decks want this, but we don't want it for $50.
Exactly.
So I think Wizards thinks.
Once again. Another just graveyard hate card that, like, if you open one, probably trade it, I guess, because you're still going to be able to get $20 for it. But also just maybe hang on to it because it will go back up in price. Don't forget about that.
Riddle me this.
Okay, that's black. Just a couple of cards to talk about there, and let's move on to red, where there's even less.
Yeah.
But this one is cool. Marauding Raptor, 1 in a red for a 2/3. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. That's neat. Yeah. And this interesting text. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Marauding Raptor deals 2 damage to it. And if a dinosaur is dealt damage this way, Marauding Raptor gets +2/+0 until end of turn. What a neat, what a weird card, right? It's going to kill a lot of your tiny creatures. But in a dinosaur deck that cares about getting hit, this is going to be good, obviously. Definitely in addition there. But I'm just wondering, is there any weird plays in Commander where we can play a creature, have it be dealt 2 damage, and have that matter in some way? Either whether it's immediately dying and that's something we want to have happen, or some creature cares about the damage that isn't necessarily a dinosaur. I don't know. I'm just thinking.
If you're black red, presumably you're gonna run a lot of stuff that's when it dies, when creatures, you have cards that say whenever a non-token creature dies, so you get to do that. I'm interested in running this in part of the 99 of a Tajic Legion's Edge deck, because now all my creatures are cheaper and they don't take damage from it.
Anyways, Marauding Raptor looks like just think about it, I guess. This ability is pretty unique. So
I'm also thinking about a lot of Gruul decks probably run creatures that are big enough that they don't care about getting hit. So getting your big creatures 1 cheaper is just very good in those decks.
Exactly. Yes. Good point there. Yeah. Yeah. That's totally worth it. You don't care if something gets hit for 2 there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So the other red card we want to talk about is Repeated Reverberation. 2 red for an instant. When you next cast an instant spell, cast a sorcery spell, or activate a loyalty ability this turn. So they've lumped in loyalty abilities with instants and sorceries here. Mm-hmm. Copy that spell or ability twice. You may choose new targets for the copy. I mean, we've always had a lot of 2 mana copy this spell. This is just 2 mana copy a spells tacked onto 1 card. So instead of paying 2 to copy spell, you pay 4 to copy it twice. I mean, if I've got a deck that wants to copy spells, I probably want this. Yeah. Does it make it too expensive to this is where the danger is, because then you're well, now I can't really afford to cast the spell because it's 4, but I get it twice. I don't know. The fact that it does loyalty abilities is worth a look though, because loyalty abilities don't cost mana. Exactly. So if you run maybe it's good this is red because Atraxa decks don't have red in them, but I know that we've done an Is It Super Friends deck with a lot of red commanders, so getting to double up, let's say the new Saheeli commander, getting to double up is okay, I'll make all of my spells cheaper based on the number of artifacts I control times 3. So
that's a little overkill because it's only for the next one, isn't it?
Yeah, but if it's the next spell, that X equals a bajillion.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of I agree. I think it's the loyalty ability thing that puts this over the top and into a different realm of these copy spells, right? So
yeah,
interesting and worth noting. Probably going to show up in some Super Friends decks, probably.
Yeah.
That's it for red.
Green.
Unsurprisingly, all the red cards are mostly damage-based spells and small creatures, aggressive stuff that doesn't really play into Commander too much. So let's move right into green. With Elvish Reclaimer, a single green for a 1/2. He gets +2/+2 as long as there are 3 or more land cards in your graveyard. And then you pay 2, sack a land, search your library for a land card, and put it on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle your library.
Wow, any land.
So you get upgrade, a basic to more, a utility land that matters. And
crop rotation on legs.
Yeah, exactly. So this is gonna, Titania is gonna love this card. Obviously, Gitrog decks, all that kind of stuff. All those land decks get Elvish Reclaimers now, and they're cheap and they're easy to use, and they're going to get you they tutor you for your lands you want right away.
Angry Omnath, Tatiova, you name it.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of Wizards been putting a lot of land stuff in the last couple years, right?
Oh, Windgrace too,
Yeah,
probably?
exactly. Like we got that whole commander deck that apparently cares about lands, but it doesn't really. But the commander certainly does, and then it resulted in a lot of decks. So I think you're going to see a lot of Elvish Proclaimers coming around for that. So it's a good
Truly.
card.
Then we got Shared Summons. 3 green for an instant. Search your library for up to 2 creature cards with different names. Reveal them. Put them into your hand. Then shuffle your library. Well, guess what? All our cards have different names. So, so tutor 2 creature cards. That's fantastic.
Yeah, this could lead to getting 2 combo pieces that just win the game in certain color combinations.
Yep.
Is 5 mana too much for that ability? Probably not.
But like in green, like green is good at getting lots of mana. So like 5 mana in green is not as bad as 5 mana in white, for example.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah. In mono green certainly, and then in other colors, you're going to feel that. You're going to feel that mana boost as well.
Yeah.
Next in green, we have Voracious Hydra, X green for the creature. Hydra, 0/1 with trample. When it enters the battlefield, you put X +1/+1 counters on it. Classic Hydra stuff there. And then when it enters the battlefield, you choose 1. Double the number of +1/+1 counters on it, or it fights target creature you don't control. So we're seeing that like team up of Hydra that we saw with what's his name? Golos.
Golos.
The mono green legendary. Where now Hydras are kind of teamed up with fighting stuff when they enter the battlefield. But also just the ability of simply making this thing massive. If you put, pump like 8 or 10 mana into it, now it's double that, which is pretty sweet. Okay, so let's look at the multicolor creatures, multicolor spells, I suppose.
Great. So we're hoping these are a little bit more powerful. We're looking to see if they're just like great cards. Obviously, they're harder to cast, so Wizards gets to put more power in them. First one we have is Corpse Knight. It's a black-white 2/2 zombie knight. So it's a zombie if you care about it. It's a knight if you're into Knights Tribal. It's Orzhov. It's 2/2, and it says whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses life. I mean, that's a useful ability. Lots of decks want lots of those types of effects. Yeah, a lot of decks have their sort of like infinite token kind of thing, and then they're always like, okay, all I need is some sort of Blood Artist or a Corpse Knight or something to like make that loop from just a pointless loop to a game-winning loop.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, like most of the Blood Artist type stuff is when a creature dies, right?
Right.
Whereas this is just if one enters the battlefield. So yeah, you do get the same benefit of like the looping, the infinite looping happening. But also you just get the general benefit of like putting this in a white-black tokens deck and getting a bunch of spirits, and they all, you make 10 spirits at once, and then everyone loses 10 life. Like, yikes.
And as a zombie deck, like zombie decks are known for putting lots of tokens out at a time.
That's
so like
true.
This seems pretty good in there.
Yeah, it's a zombie. Yeah, that's true. Very good point. Yeah, so it looks relevant for a couple of different decks. So that's
those decks are. It's always so tough though, because like those decks are usually pretty full.
They
and
are.
It's just
yep.
it's kind of redundant. So you'll know if that's a better choice for you than those other ones.
Totally. Next we have our preview card, Moldervine Reclamation. 3 black-green for the enchantment that says whenever a creature you control dies, you gain 1 life and draw a card. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a little bit in the preview video, of course. Gave it a little bit of an examination. But this is just a great Golgari card. Sultai is going to love this card. Abzan, too, again. The main feature of this card being that it's whenever a creature you control dies. You gain a life and draw a card. So you're not losing a life like a lot of the things that exist out there already. You're gaining that life, but also it's any creature. It's not non-token. Like I think that's the most important side of it. We also pointed out a lot of things that like Moldervine Reclamation with another what's it like? What's the black spell that does it? Like the black enchantment, the triple black one. It's when a creature you control dies, you lose a life and draw a card.
Oh yeah, it negates the life.
It just evens out. So like obviously 2 card draw things alone are good, but that just negates the life gain or the life loss. But really, this is just going to be a nice enchantment to jam in your Golgari decks. 5 mana for it. Is that going to be something you're interested in? That your meta obviously will depend on that. But I think it's just a solid inclusion in a lot of those types of decks.
I do too. And now that the set is fully spoiled, we did not get to meet who Jed Egg is.
Oh no, Jed Egg did not show up. That's true. Yeah. Unfortunate. Maybe we'll see Jed Egg in the future.
I hope so.
Philosopher of Graves.
Another multicolored card that's fairly interesting. Ogre Siegebreaker, 2 black-red, Ogre Berserker, 4/3, and he has an activated ability that doesn't tap. 2 black-red, destroy target creature that was dealt damage this turn. It's a lot. If you're a black-red deck, a lot of ways you're going to do things is with damage, so this is going to cost you a lot of mana, but it's another way to put that over the top. If you've got any sort of Tim deck, this becomes very good in it.
Yeah, and it's almost there mostly for the threat of activation, right? I feel like in like a Rakdos deck or anything else that would run this card, like you're not going to be blocking if you see like with any of your good creatures when you see an Ogre Siegebreaker out there. I don't know if it's going to show up a lot. I just thought that the onboard ability to destroy a target creature that was dealt damage is something I personally don't recall seeing very often. So
yeah, that might be a first.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because usually it's something that like it enters like upon entering the battlefield, it'll do this, right? So yeah. Anyways, just neat that it's on an activated ability.
Neat. So that's it for multicolor. So normally we're going to go through the planeswalkers. We'll go through all of them, the ones you can get from packs and the ones you get from decks. But maybe then the planeswalkers have become more prevalent. Maybe we just got to talk about the commander relevant ones.
This deck is like, sorry, this deck, I keep calling it a deck. This set is interesting because of like this weird like extra number of planeswalkers in it, and it's just like, did we even need this many? Like, I don't even get it. Like, anyways, let's see when we get into them there.
So we'll talk about them from the point of commander. We can only expect realistically to get the plus or the minus, whatever ones don't go over their loyalty amount. The ultimate is not something we should plan on getting. So let's just consider if they're worth running on the plus and minus. Except for a Johnny Strength of the Pride here, who all of the loyalty abilities are eligible from the start.
Yeah.
So it's 2 white for an Ajani. Starts with 5 loyalty, and you can either go up 1, you gain life equal to the number of creatures you control, plus the number of planeswalkers you control. That is not good. We want a planeswalker to protect itself. I mean, if you care about life gain, that's going to be a lot, maybe. Or maybe it'll be 1 because all you have is a Johnny.
Yeah, exactly.
-2, create a 2/2 white cat soldier creature token named Ajani's Pridemate with whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Ajani's Pridemate. That's the card. Like, it makes
that
another
is just
card.
The card. It makes a full card, yeah.
Pretty neat.
Pretty cool.
Although, did they not... Oh, no, yeah, they changed it from a May to an automatic, and the Ajani reflects that. They did errata the card.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
cool.
it used to be you may put a +1/+1 counter. Now it's not a may.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And Ajani does not have an ultimate per se. Ajani has a 0 loyalty ability. If you have at least 15 more life than your starting life total, exile Ajani's Strength of the Pride and each artifact and creature your opponents control. Well, so ignoring +1 and -2, which are not that impressive, white gets a lot of removal spells, but this is a 4 mana like if you've got the life, exile all of your opponent's creatures and artifacts. It's a one-sided.
Artifacts.
It's a one-sided.
Yeah.
You got to have life though. You got to have
You gotta
life.
have that life. If you get to 55 life or more in Commander, Ajani is a 4 mana one-sided exile of not only creatures but also artifacts.
Yeah.
That's good. That alone is good. And then it doesn't even go away.
It doesn't go away. It's still there.
Like, that would be totally fine if it was a -5 ability.
Yeah.
Now, given like, again, it's not nothing. It's not just.
Oh, wait a minute. No, it exiles itself when it does.
Oh, it does.
That.
Oh, it does say that. Sorry. Yes. Okay. Good. Okay. Good. Because that would be bonkers. But 15 life is it's not nothing. But if you got a dedicated life gain deck, that's pretty easy to get, I think.
Well, and a lot of life gain happens, like there's 2 types of life gain decks. There's the life gain decks where everything they do gains them 3 or 4 life. Mm-hmm. Then there's the decks where they're just chugging along and all of a sudden they gain like 50. And then they're like, what just happened? And so like those decks, for sure, your opponents won't see it coming. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, by the way, what's that black card where you exile all the creatures from someone's graveyard and gain 3 life per?
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like
Yeah,
like
I don't even know that card, but I remember
you can gain
someone
like
running it.
like 30, 40 life off of that very
Yeah.
easily, and then you just like draw. Okay, so I'll cast that, and with my remaining mana, I'll cast a Johnny and exile the entire opponent's board. And
Like anything where you're gaining life, this is just a somewhat. Well, I mean, again, if you're getting attacked, who knows, right? It does depend on the board, but it's like a somewhat reliable one-sided board wipe.
it's very exciting.
Exiles plus artifacts. I think it's worth running just because of that. Again, in the decks where you're going to be gaining life.
Yeah,
That's a. Oof. And then the plus
it's
and the
exciting.
minus is like, whatever. Anyways, very good. Next is a blue planeswalker, Mu Yan Ling, Sky Dancer. 1 blue for the legendary planeswalker. It starts with 2 loyalty, so this is a pretty cheap planeswalker, starting with 2 loyalty, +2. Until your next turn, up to 1 target creature gets -2, -0, and loses flying. -3, create a 4/4 blue elemental bird creature token with flying. And the ultimate is -8. You get an emblem with islands you control, have tap, draw a card. So I don't really expect to see much of Mu Yanling in Commander, simply because even at the cheap mana cost, being able to get it down on turn 3 in like a mono blue deck or something it's not going to stick around.
Yeah,
Because
all
you
get
can't
to do...
even -3 it when it comes down, right? You can't have it protect itself. You need to have it go up and then come down. So like there's just 3 other players you're having to deal with, and if anyone has a utility 2/2 or even they're just going to swing into this thing, and you're not going to have anything to do about it. So
yeah, I mean, there's the slim chance. I feel like this is going to be a constructed or limited card, because like if your opponent only has 1 threat, if you give it -2, -0, it's probably neutralized until you can make that bird. But I don't know. In Commander, it just seems to look. What if you draw this late? It kind of does nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
And can I like, who is in charge of deciding what a token is? Like, so birds can just be whatever size now. It doesn't matter. Like I thought, like I like my birds to be 1/1 white flying creatures. I like my zombies to be 2/2 black creatures, right?
Well,
like
historically, we've had different sized birds. We've had 2/2
2/2
birds. We've had 2/2 birds from Swan Song, right?
But like 4/4 seems like make that a sphinx.
I know, exactly. Now we start talking about it's an elemental also, maybe that's why. So it's like it's really an elemental you're making, but it's a bird, so it has flying. I don't know.
You're telling us creature types are meaningless. Like anything can be anything.
The sizes of them, I suppose, range. Yeah, okay.
We're gonna get a creature that makes 6/6 vigilance white goblins.
I also think there's something about this card that's just like, yeah, okay, we got another blue planeswalker, we got Mu Yanling. Okay, cool. What does she do? Oh, basically the same stuff Jace does? Okay, fine. Like, you know what I mean? Like, -2, -0, make some, like, you know, elemental or, like, illusion creature, whatever. Jace does that. And then, like, I don't know, something where you draw 1,000,000 cards. Like, yeah, okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad there's other planeswalkers. I don't want them all to just be Jace or anything. It's just that, like, what does what's Mu Yanling's thing? Like, what's her thing? What is her
birds?
thing she does? Is it birds? Is it elemental birds? I guess. Sky Dancer? Yeah, sure. She's more of a flying planeswalker? Maybe that's what it is. Yeah. Anyways, let's take a look at the next one here.
Why don't they... Sorry, I just had a brainstorm. Why don't they make a planeswalker where there's a static where you can only attack it if you have flying?
Like it's a flying planeswalker.
Like it's off the ground. Like ground creatures can't hit it.
May only be attacked by creatures with flying. Or reach. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, sure.
The reach creature could still hit it, right?
Yeah, spider walks up and...
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Okay, wait, now we got Sorin, another 3 mana planeswalker. They're pushing these. Sorin, Imperious Bloodlord, 2 and a black, legendary Sorin, 4 loyalty to start. And so here's another one where you could use all of these abilities as soon as Sorin hits the table. So Sorin has a +1. Target creature you control gains Death Touch and Lifelink until end of turn. And if it's a vampire, put a +1/+1 counter on it. That doesn't help Sorin protect himself. That creature would have to, like, it doesn't have Death Touch while it's not your turn. But, you know, if you already have a creature, fine. Let's see the next one. +1, you may sacrifice a vampire. When you do, Sorin deals 3 damage to any target and you gain 3 life. Ooh, Okay, I mean, you still got to lose a potential blocker, so Soren is still at risk. -3, you may put a vampire creature from your hand onto the battlefield. What?
There you
What?
go. That's why we're running Soren.
I'm going to see what the most expensive vampire is
Just-
in the game.
Yeah, just the it's I don't know if I don't know if how much I'm willing to bet on this, but I bet you what's his name? The head vampire who was in Homelands, who's like the only good card from, like, not even that good, really.
Do you mean Baron
Baron
Sengir?
Sengir, that's it, yeah.
This is
I'm gonna
correct.
Guess it's Baron Sengir, yeah.
There's an 8. So there's several 8 mana vampires. Baron Sengir is the one that whenever a creature deals damage by it gets bigger, but that's not like, I think the big ones that we're probably looking at in our format is Butcher of Malakir, the sort of like,
Oh yeah, that's a good one, yeah.
that's a good one. Defiant Bloodlord, whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Kalitas, Blood Chief of Geth.
There's a big
Yeah.
Grixis one too that like puts counters on stuff, and then if someone loses the game, it gets like 10 counters or something like that.
Right, Blood Tyrant.
Blood Tyrant, yeah. So there's a lot of good, expensive vampires. Obviously, this is a card you run in a vampire deck, so it's really only good to evaluate it in that context anyway. So I think in vampire decks, it's definitely playable. 3 mana,
yeah.
you play Soren, you get an 8 mana vampire or something like that. Like,
Well, and even if you're running the Edgar Markov like low to the ground, like you've got enough little vampire dorks that you're happy to sack one, deal 3 damage, give one death touch. Like you've got the fodder to protect Soren in an Edgar deck.
exactly. And even if you do draw this later, it's still going to be something that you're okay with having. And also in the instance of like you have it early, but you don't have one of those big vampires yet, it's definitely a fine move, I think, to hang on to Soren until you do, and then you're essentially only paying three mana for that card. I mean, it takes 2 cards, but it's not like
Yeah.
Soren dies, I mean, automatically, right? So if you have a board already at that stage too, you're going to protect him. So I think
Very
it's
nice.
decent in a vampire deck, yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, next we have our first of the 3 Chandras that you can get in packs. So they decided to do a vertical cycle with this one where it's you get an uncommon, a rare, and a mythic, all Chandras. Let's see if any of them are any good. The uncommon Chandra here is, because usually, honestly, they're not.
Usually not good.
So the uncommon Chandra is Chandra Novice Pyromancer. 3 and a red for a 5 loyalty Chandra. +1, elementals you control get +2/+0. -1, add 2 red. Okay. And then -2, Chandra Novice Pyromancer deals 2 damage to any target. So, I mean, unless you're running Chandra, like, tribal or something, which you could most certainly do at this point, I think the best ability here is the adding of the 2 red mana.
Yeah, it effectively
and-
makes her cost 2 the turn you drop her.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're really looking to run that outside of an Elementals deck. And even inside of an Elementals deck, I don't know how good this is. So
It's tough. It's tricky.
Yeah, so not great, I don't think.
So rare Chandra, she has learned a little bit about fire. Now she's Acolyte of Flame. 1 red for the rare one. Starts with 4 loyalty, has a 0, a 0, and a -2. First 0, put a loyalty counter on each red planeswalker you control. I mean, if you're like that, we've got an Is It Super Friends deck in the queue, but go give it a listen. This might be good there. 0, create 2 1/1 red elemental creature tokens. They gain haste. Sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. That's fine. I mean, it does. If I'm not putting loyalty counters and I'm doing that, they don't stick around until the end. Okay, so far so medium.
Yeah.
-2, you may cast target instant or sorcery card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard, and then if you do, you exile it.
So it gives us like a thing flashback, 3 or less, instant or sorcery. I don't see this really making a splashing commander, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
It just doesn't do enough on its own. Making the 2 1/1s is, because if they stuck around, that'd be good, but they don't.
Yeah.
The loyalty on red planeswalkers is not good enough unless, again, you're running like Is It planeswalkers or mono red planeswalkers or Chandra tribal or something like that.
Right.
And that -2 I just don't think is enough of an impact to run the card. So
It doesn't let you cast it for free. You like it just
it
allows
just gives
you
it
to
flashback,
cast it.
right? or whatever.
And you have to pay for it. So in theory, you could grab an X spell out of there.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like there's probably better ways in Red to do that, right?
I think so.
Okay, well, Chandra, maybe the mythic version of you is good enough for Commander. Chandra, Awakened Inferno, 4 red, so 6 mana. So we jumped
so
from
expensive.
Yeah, we jumped from 3 to 6 from rare to mythic. She comes with some static text though. This spell can't be countered. Okay. She's 6 loyalty, and her +2 is each opponent gets an emblem with at the beginning of your upkeep. This emblem deals 1 damage to you.
That's +2.
That's +2. That is not nothing. Especially if you can do it more than once.
Do you remember that instant that lets you do loyalty abilities copied twice? Mm-hmm. Like if you're able to save up 10 mana, you can drop Chandra and then give everyone 3 emblems that say
it's going to be tough to just get play Chandra at 6 loyalty +2. 8 loyalty. Like if you have any way to protect her, that's going to be 2 emblems of dealing 2 and dealing 2 damage a turn. Like if that's all you got, that's not bad. Because I would guess that the rest of your deck is going to somehow take advantage of that and work with that damage being dealt to them. So oof.
That's an emblem. So if you get a couple emblems out, if it takes the table a couple of rounds to deal with Chandra, even if they kill you, those emblems, you affect that game after you're gone.
Do the emblems get exiled if you
Each opponent gets the emblem. Yeah, that's not your emblem. That's your opponent's emblems. Those emblems are not owned by you. They're they exist in your opponents wherever emblems sit.
Yeah,
and
you're right. It's as if you created a token and that your opponent had the land that taps and gives someone the spirit token. That spirit token doesn't disappear just because you did, right?
Nope. Neither do these emblems. Because the emblem is not yours, and it says during because the emblem is on your opponent and it refers to them. Some emblems you own and it refers to your opponents, on your upkeep, all your opponents do something. Those ones would go if you die.
So they own it, which means they keep it even if you lose the game.
Each opponent gets the emblem.
Fascinating. There's still part of me that wonders if that's 100% true, but I do. It makes sense to me.
I could be wrong, but I think from what I'm just going
it
on.
It sounds right to me. I think it sounds right, but there's just one part of me that's there's a slight possibility that maybe that's not how it works. But either way,
well, I hope that's how it works.
Yeah. Anyways, that's just the +2. That's just the +2. The -3 is Chandra Awakened Inferno deals 3 damage to each non-elemental creature. That's as far as these damage-based Chandra abilities go, this is kind of what I'd rather see anyways, right? Kind of like a mini board wipe type of thing. That's better to me than dealing 3 damage to a creature or a player or something like that.
Yeah.
So while it's not amazing, it's okay, fine. And the -X, I guess, would be the ultimate. Chandra deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker. If a permanent dealt damage this way would die this turn, you exile it instead. So it can just come down and be a damage spell, I guess. So it's not really so much as an ultimate as it is just a kind of a get rid of something that's 6 toughness and perhaps exile it. That is, it's pretty rare that the last ability on a planeswalker seems like the least important one to Commander. Although I'm not sure that's actually what it is this time around. But the Chandra seems okay to me. Not, you got to have a kind of a damage based deck, I think, to want to have to take advantage of this sort of thing. But it doesn't seem terrible. I really like that +2 ability.
I like the +2, but I don't know if I would put it in my deck for that +2 ability.
Right. I that's what I mean. I think I would need a deck that's based on dealing direct damage.
Yeah.
And in that case, I'm pretty happy to have it, I think.
I mean, yeah, I like if I had damage doublers, that would be nice because then it would deal 6 damage to each non-elemental creature. So I'm going to run a lot of elementals, so my stuff lives, your stuff dies. I can see that this has a home in a deck. I just don't have a deck right now where I want this.
Yeah, I think I ages ago, I always think about it. So I should probably build this deck at some point in real life. A Mogus deck where you're just trying to deal a lot of damage right away and get people to have damage recurring on them. Yeah, the emblems seem really good to me. Each opponent gets that emblem. That's pretty sweet. Okay, so Chandra, like, looks like it can find a home. I think that there is a home for this in Commander, so that's neat.
So we got one more Planeswalker, Vivian Arkbow Ranger, 1 green, green, green. Very heavy green cost. Vivian starts with 4 loyalty, has a +1, a -3, and a -5. So she'll get to do her -5 in 2 turns if no one disrupts you. So the +1 is distribute 2 +1/+1 counters among up to 2 target creatures. They gain trample until end of turn. Okay, I mean, if I'm in a big green deck, I probably want things with trample. I probably have counters. That seems decent to throw a couple counters down. -3, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker. So it's a one-way fight, like a kick. -5, this is what you get in 2 turns. You may choose a creature card you own from outside of the game, reveal it, and put it into your hand. And we don't have this in Commander. This isn't a thing.
Yeah, technically speaking, there is no outside of the game for us.
Right. I mean, many play groups let you have a wish board, or like here's my these are the things that are out of the game for the purposes of cards like this. So obviously, if you can do that, go nuts. But as it stands, it's just adding a couple counters, and it needs to be mono green for the most part, and it has a little bit of fighting. I don't know if
I like
you
that
got room.
I like that the fight hits planeswalkers, but I don't know if I'm running this card just for that.
Agreed.
Yeah, so I'm not super into this Vivian. You might be able to have some fun with the outside of the game thing if in your play group or in your meta, people are fine with it. Which, by the way, I'm pretty sure just about everybody is. Like, if you brought a deck and said like, "Hey, I've got a Vivian Arkbow Ranger in here. Here's my 15 card." Like you said, like wishboard or sideboard for the outside of the game stuff. No, I really don't think anyone's going to say no to that. So, for that, but that isn't a thing that you can just get with Vivian. You have to plus her, and then -5, and then you lose her. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, it's not like it's just this automatic thing that comes with the card, which I think that's what everyone focuses on with this card. And it's not just automatic. Like, you're not just going to get that every time you play her. So I actually don't think you should rely on it. I don't think it's that good.
No.
Not really a commander card. That's fine. So those are the ones that you can get in packs. We like that Ajani, and the Sorin seems good for vampire deck, and yeah.
I want to like that Chandra.
I know. I might be talking myself up a bit on that Chandra, but I do like that emblem thing. Anyways, but now we've got the Planeswalker decks that come out. So there seem to be a lot of them this time.
5 of them.
There's 5, yeah.
One for every color.
Right? Usually they only do 2?
Yeah, usually 2, and it's usually very story based. But now it just seems like, just here's the whole gang is here in deck form.
Yeah, and I guess let's get into it, right? So the first one is Ajani for the white deck, Inspiring Leader. It's 4 white for a 5 loyalty planeswalker, +2. You gain 2 life and put 2 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target creature. The -3 is exile target creature. Its controller gains 2 life. And -10 is creatures you control gain flying and double strike until end of turn.
That's not even an emblem?
That's not even an emblem.
Till end of turn?
I know.
Ajani, you are not inspiring.
Ajani, please.
Ajani, please.
The -3 is the best part of this card, but I don't think anyone's
not for 6 mana.
Exactly. I don't think anyone's really seriously thinking about running this card. So
okay, this is out. Sorry, Ajani.
I know. I feel bad. Ajani, one of my favorite planeswalkers, but this might be the worst one yet.
So Mu Yenling, Celestial Wind. We got another Mu Yenling planeswalker. Let's see if this one's playable. 4 blue for a 5 loyalty to start. So you got a +1, a -3, and a -7. So that -7 is possible in 3 turns. +1, until your next turn, up to 1 target creature gets a -5, -0. I mean, that's largely irrelevant unless you're on a board state with only 1 actual threat.
Yeah.
-3, return up to 2 target creatures to their owner's hands. That's something. Return 2 for 6. It's pricey, but it's something. -7, creatures you control with flying get +5/+5 until end of turn.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah, it's not doing it for us. Sorry.
Until end of turn? That's not what an emblem's about.
It's not what an ultimate's about,
ultimate, I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. So these abilities are pretty they're really extra there for the plus and the minus. Forget about the ultimates on these. It seems like they're saying, Mu Yenling, not great.
Yikes.
Because, like, what am I building up towards? One turn where I get to do this? Maybe? Like, no. Next is Sorin, Vampire Lord, 4 black. And, I mean, these are for the Planeswalker deck, so don't, like, I'm not really expecting too much from them. Although, usually these are a little better for Commander, and that doesn't seem to be the case here. Anyway, Sorin, Vampire Lords, 4 black for a 4 loyalty Planeswalker. +1, up to 1 target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. -2, Sorin deals 4 damage to any target, and you gain 4 life. And then the -8 is, until end of turn, each vampire you control gains tap, gain control of target creature. So that is a much better ultimate than the previous 2 that we've just seen. But even then, the end of turn isn't so bad here. It's just that it's really dependent on you having vampires, right? So to be able to keep Sorin alive that long, you probably already have some vampires. Getting to the -8 is going to be difficult because it's going to take a long time. It's like 5 turns or something for you to get there. But then the payoff is real though, right? Like being able to tap like 5 or 6 vampires and gain control of like 6 creatures, that's pretty good.
Like, obviously, when you think of a massive amount of vampires, you think Edgar Markov. And the problem with Edgar decks is, like, by the time you have a board of like 6 or 8 or 10 vampires, you don't need Sorin. You're winning that game.
Exactly.
Like Sorin's, like, you're not interested in keeping Sorin alive long enough to control everyone. You're just gonna dominate the game.
And the only reason, and like we say it, don't focus on the ultimates for any Planeswalker, really. The only reason I'm doing it on this one is because that's the only exciting part of the card. The rest of it is not exciting at all, especially for a 6-mana Planeswalker. So, sorry, okay. Sorin, I don't think we'll be seeing much of you in Commander.
Sorin. Okay, we got another Chandra.
Ooh,
4
another
Chandras.
More Chandras, please. More.
Flames Fury. 4 red. Starts with 4 loyalty. +1, 2 damage to any target. Okay. -2, 4 damage to target creature and 2 damage to that creature's controller. Is that Char or Chandra's Outrage?
Ooh, yeah, something.
-8, never gonna happen. Chandra Flames Fury deals 10 damage to target player and each creature that player controls. That's legit. That's the kind of thing I would expect out of an ultimate, at least. So. Okay, at least this one is like within what I would expect as a Planeswalker.
Still not good for Commander. Targeting the player, hitting 10. It's not even a board wipe. It's just one. It's screwing one guy over after you've worked so hard to get it up to 8 loyalty.
Yeah,
this isn't. You're not going to see this either. Not good.
So we'll still read the green ones, even though I suspect we won't like it.
Right. So here's Vivian, Nature's Avenger, 4 green, 3 loyalty Planeswalker. So this is the lowest loyalty among these Planeswalker deck ones.
For 6,
I know. And it's +1 still. It's not even +2. So +1, put 3 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target creature. -1, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that card into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And then -6, target creature gets +10/+10 and gains trample until end of turn. Yeah, no, man. Why couldn't this one be 4 loyalty? You know what I mean? Was it too good? I guess maybe it's probably the balance of the decks playing against each other. I'm sure like that's where they get tested more. But even still, you can make this thing 6 loyalty, and I'm not that interested in it. like for Commander, even just a 6-mana spell that says this creature gets +10/+10 and gains trample, and like make that a sorcery until end of turn. Like that's not even that good. It's okay, but it's not great.
So maybe if they're going to become in the habit of printing so many Planeswalkers, maybe we just only give you the ones that we think are relevant in Commander now.
Yeah.
We used to cover them all because there weren't that many, but it seems like now
we
they're
get like 5 or 6 in total?
Including the ones in decks, right?
Yeah,
and this has been, 12 of them? 15?
Yeah,
so, okay, so fair. So we're really crapping on these cards. But so I'm sure they're fun in the decks that they're for, right? Yeah. If you're a new player and you bought that deck, it's probably super cool to almost get up to this 10/10 trampler. That's probably super cool, but we're talking expert jank Commander.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we like to go deep, and these do not cut it. So so in the future we'll shave off some of these Planeswalkers.
Yeah, I think so too. But it's good to see. Overall, what are your thoughts on M20 here?
I love what they did for legendaries. Wizards thinks.
Wizards thinks. #Wizards thinks.
That's great. Some great reprints. They're not afraid to reprint some stuff for us, including getting close to the reserve list there.
Yeah.
And I think we got a lot of cards that are like, yeah, I don't know if I want to build around them necessarily, but they will augment decks I already have, or will take the spots of cards that are a few dollars more than them.
Yeah, I gotta say, I couldn't be happier with the amount of legendaries and what they did with them. They really gave them some new and interesting abilities and some fun stuff to build around. Even with some of the monocolored ones, I think that's the case. So, I'm a big fan. I think the rest of the set really is just some classic core set stuff, right? Some needed reprints, some pretty simple stuff. That's why we didn't see so many cards that are going to be Commander relevant. But at the same time, I think we saw enough stuff that I'm excited to put into decks. I think it's a great set.
Truly.
Yeah, I wanted to do this. I mean, it's been a long one. Thanks for lasting with us this whole time. But what outside of the legendary, Sean, is there a card? Is there a card like what's the card you think is going to make the biggest impact on Commander? Like, what card do you think we're going to see the most? I know it's probably difficult because we just talked about so many cards, but is there one where you're like, I bet you will see a lot of that card? I was thinking, personally, again, outside of the legendaries, because we're going to see people build Commander decks and stuff. I think I feel like it's either going to be like Lotus Field, or we're going to see a bunch of the blue bounce spell. Flood of Tears.
Okay.
I think that's going to be a decent blue board wipe. Like, I think you're going to see more of that because again, like if you bounce 4 of your things, you get to put something else right back down. That's pretty good. Yeah. Especially among at least among like the medium level power that like we tend to play at. You know what I mean? Like maybe not. Right. It's not a super competitive card or anything, but I think amongst like budget decks and this sort of medium meta level we're at, I think Flood of Tears can make a bit of a splash.
I'm going to give Elvish Reclaimer the nod. Crop rotation on legs.
Yep.
Lets us get any of our specialty lands. That's going to be pretty huge.
Shared Summon's also pretty good, right? 5 mana, 2/2 creatures. I bet you'll see that.
Yeah.
Neat.
Great.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. Wizards, thanks. Audience, thanks. Commanders, Brewheads, thanks. It's been a long one, but always fun doing these set reviews. Let us know what you think about these cards. Let us know what you think are going to be the biggest impact in comments, on Twitter. Reach out to us. Remember to watch Battle of the Brews. Man, I got to say, I have to say this on the air. Sean, the latest episode of Battle of the Brews is the best one yet. The gameplay is wild. It gets nuts. It's the best looking one. We really figured out the look of everything.
Yeah.
We got new playmats, like our own special playmats for the show. The sound is like on point. Like we really worked out a lot of the little kind of technical glitches that I think a lot of us saw in the first few episodes and that like we were definitely well aware of. So, but it's if you haven't seen one in a while or something like that, check out the latest episode of Battle of the Brews. It is on point. It's looking great. Like I can't wait to see where the show is going to go. From here forward. And Sean, you're doing so much work on that. Thank you. You did an amazing job. Great stuff.
Thank you. I consider those earlier episodes our preview episodes. Now we're really getting rolling. Yeah.
We're hitting our stride here now. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Great, everyone. Well, thanks for listening. We'll see everyone next week with a new deck tech.
Bye.
Probably featuring some M20 cards. Goodbye.
Big thanks to all our patrons who make these episodes possible.
Yeah, and if you want to check out more comedy videos, check out our Brews News playlist.
Make sure you follow us on Twitch TV to see when we play live.
If you want to chat with us, head over to Twitter. We're at Commanders Brew.
And please hit subscribe to ding the bell and find out when we got new stuff coming out.
See you next time.
Bye.